subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Hermione felt a shudder. What? Muggle weapons. It is also the future of this world. Ivan did not hide it. He knew how far the Muggle world would develop in another 30 years. In Ivan's view, Muggles and wizards are destined to be unable to merge together. Even if there are small towns like Hermione and Ivan who are completely born in the Muggle world. But as long as they can still cast spells, it is difficult for ordinary people to accept them. So Ivan never thought about the so-called peaceful coexistence of Muggles and wizards, which is simply unrealistic in the wizarding world. Rather than saying that the magic world does not need to change, it is better to say that the magic world has not changed. Ivan, today's magic world is almost the same as the magic world when the Statute of Secrecy was enacted 300 years ago. I'm not talking about the system of the magic world. It's the spell. Ivan conveyed his thoughts to the young wizards and Penelope. Muggles are developing, but our magic is still stuck in the past. We are wizards, which determines our future position and identity. At this point, Ivan told them about Grindelwald's deeds. Almost no young wizards of this era know who Grindelwald is. He is the real devil in the eyes of the older generation. Compared with him, Voldemort is at best a lunatic. This is terrible, Ivan. Hermione was a little worried. She was afraid that Ivan would follow Grindelwald's path. Grindelwald believed that wizards were supreme. What he wanted was a world where wizards ruled Muggles. And this was bound to lead to war. Yes, Ivan. When Harry and Parvati thought about the war between wizards and Muggles in the future, their inner uneasiness became stronger. Only Penelope remained calm. Of course, this does not mean that Penelope agreed with Grindelwald's ideas, but she believed that Ivan would not be the next Grindelwald, because Ivan had told him clearly that he would not follow Grindelwald's old path. Don't worry, everyone. Ivan smiled and said, I never thought about inheriting Grindelwald's will, even if I could really do those things. There was no doubt in the people present. Although they had never seen how strong Grindelwald was, Ivan's magic talent could only be described as explosive. He was a little wizard who even defeated Voldemort. Ivan's battle with Voldemort was naturally made up to the outside world. But here, Harry would not fool his friends. Merlin, after learning the truth from Harry, Penelope was stunned. A first-year little wizard beating Voldemort was too magical. I know you don't want to hurt anyone. The young wizards present were all very kind, and they couldn't even be cruel enough to kill people. Don't say they were too soft-hearted. If a group of 10-year-old children could kill decisively, Ivan would not dare to use them. Being kind-hearted does not mean being soft-hearted. When faced with danger, kind people will fight to the death with the enemy to protect their homes and loved ones. I don't like killing, and I don't think it's a glorious thing to hurt others. Ivan asked them to relax, and the mysterious side would not take aggression, war, slavery, and other behaviors as targets. But there is one thing I hope everyone can understand. Ivan pointed to the still hazy and changing white mist and said, many things will not change with our will, because our voice is too small. Maybe in the future, we will leave Hogwarts and become excellent wizards leading the British wizarding world. But what about the Muggle world? Ivan, no matter how hard we try, no matter how we restrain ourselves, we can't change the will of the Muggles, because it is not allowed to interfere with the development of Muggles without authorization. However, once one day, the wizarding world is exposed. Muggles will inevitably fight to the death against wizards who have used the forgetfulness spell to play with their memories for hundreds of years. After all, no one wants a group of people in this world who can easily modify your memory and manipulate your destiny. Grindelwald saw the potential of Muggles and called on his compatriots to strike first. What should we do? Everyone looked at Ivan. He was the soul of the team, lighting the way for them. The same old saying, improve yourself. No matter when, it is right to make yourself better. Ivan, in addition, we must be prepared. Prepare. The topic became more and more serious, and a sense of mission fell on the hearts of the little wizards. Be fully prepared for the possible dangers. Ivan said, "The mysterious side is not a spear or a sword, but an indestructible shield. There's a saying in the East that you should not have the intention to harm others, but you must be on guard against others. We will never take the initiative to harm Muggles. But if one day Muggles choose to point their weapons at us, what should we do?" Ivan's simple words instantly made the little wizards feel a sense of crisis. Yes, wizards do not harm Muggles, saying that it is to protect Muggles. But on the other hand, what should we do if Muggles hurt wizards? If wizards hurt Muggles, they will be sent to Azkaban. But if Muggles hurt wizards, they will not be punished. Ivan paused for a moment and asked a soul-searching question. Are the laws for wizards meant to protect them or us? This can be said to be a direct provocation to the statute of secrecy. But you have to admit that some of the ideas of the top leaders in the magic world are indeed criticized. This is the current situation in the wizarding world. I'm not blaming it because it's meaningless. Instead of complaining about the world, it's better to think about what to do. Ivan saw the children looking at him and smiled. It's very simple. That is, when others suspect that you have dangerous weapons, you'd better really have them. This. Everyone immediately realized that Ivan was going to do something big, but they felt that what Ivan said made sense. Weapons can be used, but they cannot be absent. If wizards lose the power to protect themselves, what qualifications do they have to be high and mighty? So we are not destroying the statute of secrecy. On the contrary, we are protecting it and maintaining it. If wizards want to protect Muggles as fragile little animals, they must first make themselves stronger. And what Ivan wants to do is to strengthen the wizarding community. In this way, isn't Ivan better maintaining the statute of secrecy? Hermione knew that Ivan was quibbling, but she wouldn't say it. Miss Beaver, who is no longer as pedantic as in the original book, chose the former between relatives and friends and outsiders. She only stood on Ivan's side. Then, what are the details? Penelope wanted to know what Ivan was going to do and whether he had a plan. What are you going to do? My idea is to start by understanding each other. Ivan said, "It is said that knowing yourself and knowing the enemy will ensure victory in 100 battles. If we don't even know the strength of our opponent, what qualifications do we have to fight against him?" As he said this, Ivan opened his pocket and took out a large number of things that ordinary people use. "I'll show you something. There are radios, TVs, and even computers, especially the one at the back. Except for Hermione, who has seen it and knows what it is. Even Harry has seen it for the first time. After all, it is only 1991 now, and it has only been a few years since the birth of home computers in the early 1980s. Most families have never even seen this thing, let alone bought it. What are these?" Ronald and Neville were very curious about what Ivan took out. They had no idea what these two cubes were for. "It's normal. Who asked Mr. Weasley not to know what a little yellow duck is?" "Computer and TV." Hermione said 2 words, but unfortunately no one could understand what they meant. "Ivan, is this too difficult?" Hermione knew the complexity of electrical equipment, and she didn't think anyone in the wizarding world could understand circuit diagrams, chips, and programs. "Checky. Don't worry, I'm not asking them to make computers and TVs. Ivan told everyone his thoughts. I mean, we need to understand the functions of these Muggle creations and then create and update magic for them. Magic is the power of the mind. Its power is not how we should do it, but how we want to do it. Without electricity and signals, can't we watch TV?" Ivan said, waving his wand at the TV that was not plugged in at all. The next moment, everyone saw a burst of snow on the TV screen, and then 2 hosts appeared. In the picture, the 2 were reporting British news. Merlin's beard. Harry and Hermione felt that their worldview had been greatly impacted. They quickly stepped forward, ignoring Ronald and Neville's confusion, and walked around the TV, checking it up and down, wondering how it was done. There was no signal, no power, but the news channel screen appeared. The most important thing is that the magic of Hogwarts will interfere with electronic equipment. You know, even electronic watches will malfunction in the school. But now, Ivan broke the so-called common sense. This is magic. It is also the power of wishing for something to come true. Ivan showed them the magic of magic, not sticking to the so-called principles and science. As long as you think it's okay, then it's okay. What modification? What internal structure? None of them are needed. Ivan, I don't want you to think. I want me to think. The magic of the Harry Potter world can be described in one word. That is, my power of thinking. Ivan. Ronald and Penelope spoke at the same time. Neville also wanted to say something, but they were beaten to it. Well, you say. Does this violate the laws of the Ministry of Magic? Ronald trembled and said his thoughts. His father is the director of the Office of Prohibition of Abuse of Muggle Items. So he knew very well that Ivan's modification of the TV was illegal. Yes, it's illegal. Ivan didn't think Ronald's words were wrong. In the Ministry of Magic's view, Muggle items should not flow into the wizarding world. Muggles have created so many means of transportation, but wizards are still using flying brooms and magic carpets. If it were me, I would cast a spell on a Muggle car to make it fly. Ivan's words made Ronald's pupils shrink slightly. He felt that Ivan must have seen something. The little prophet in the first year of Hogwarts. The senior students didn't know, but in Gryffindor College, especially among Ronald, Harry, and other young wizards of the same grade, it was well known. Everyone said that Ivan knew everything. My dad has a flying magic car. Ronald told the truth and lowered his head, feeling ashamed. He was just saying that Ivan was breaking the law, but what about now? His own father broke the law knowingly, which was even more serious. Prohibiting the abuse of Muggle items is the most unreasonable requirement in my opinion. Ivan didn't know how wizards would abuse Muggle items. They didn't even need Muggle items. When wizards got Muggle items, they would just do the same as Mr. Weasley and transform them into magical items with magic power. In Ivan's opinion, the real beneficiaries of the Ministry of Magic's enactment of this law are the manufacturers and investors. Fresh foreign goods will cause a major blow to the local market. Let me ask you, with a flying car, even if the flying broom cannot be eliminated, it should be no problem to eliminate a magic carpet, right? Yeah, Ronald nodded. My father and our family actually like Muggle items. But if we do this, will the Ministry of Magic find out? Good question. Ivan approached Ronald to test the old rules and ideas of the magic world from him. Neville is too dull and not suitable, so we have to be more covert. Ivan told everyone that the results of their transformation and research will not flow into the market, but will be digested within the organization. In this way, as long as they are not discovered by the Ministry of Magic, then they will not violate the law, right? Or are you afraid? What? It's a simple provocation, but this is what a group of children can't stand the most. I'm not afraid. Ronald is a tough guy and a fool, he said bluntly. My father is the director of the Office for Prohibiting the Abuse of Muggle Objects. He won't find out about us. Mr. Weasley is a very humane wizard. Even if he really knows that Ivan and others are modifying Muggle objects, he will turn a blind eye. There is no way. Harry and his son are here, and Mr. Weasley is a genius wizard like Ivan and Hermione. If he doesn't help them, but the Ministry of Magic, I'm afraid his brain will be squeezed by the door. Very good. Ivan applauded everyone's courage. Leave the modification to me, and your job is to help me test the performance of the objects so that I can find out the gaps and fill them. Transforming Muggle objects requires powerful magic power. The more complex the object, the higher the magic attainments required of the wizard. Among the people present, except Ivan, only Penelope can barely modify some simple Muggle objects. Transforming Muggle objects is not a big crime. At least the little wizards can accept it completely. Young people are rebellious and naughty and like to do something unconventional. The law prohibits them from doing it, but they insist on doing it. They dare not commit murder or arson, but they secretly study small objects. What is there to be afraid of? Next, let's start today's spell training. Ronald wants to learn how to duel, so stay with us. If you don't want to, you can go back early. Duel! Ronald was no longer sleepy when he heard about dueling. Seeing this, Ivan asked Harry to tutor Ronald in basic spells, and he discussed the Christmas holiday with Penelope and Hermione. Will you go home for Christmas? Ivan, Hermione, and I will leave school. Me too. Christmas is the most important holiday in the West, and its status is equivalent to the Chinese New Year in the East. Hogwarts has a 2-week Christmas holiday. Ivan decided to use this time to solve the problem of the base in the Muggle world. Is there anything I can help with? I've been waiting for you to say this. Ivan smiled slightly and said, this is a rare opportunity. Do you want to experience the work of a secretary in advance? Chapter 88, Christmas Holiday. As Christmas approaches, professors of various subjects assign a lot of homework. Ivan and Hermione are academic masters, so they don't worry about this. The little witch even thinks that the homework is too little and not enough for her to enjoy. In addition, perhaps because of Penelope, a senior with excellent grades, Hermione and Parvati will study with her more often. Harry continues to take Ronald, the new student, and occasionally Neville. However, the three little ones often mess up and lose credits. Well, Professor Gardens played a great role. Time flies. One morning in mid-December, Hogwarts School woke up from a dream and found that the surroundings were covered with several feet of snow and the lake was covered with hard ice. Everyone was looking forward to the holiday. In the hall, Professor McGonagall and Professor Flitwick were there, busy decorating Christmas decorations. The walls were covered with hanging ribbons of holly and mistletoe, and there were 12 towering Christmas trees standing all around, some of which were hung with sparkling icicles, and some of which were flickering with hundreds of candles. Ivan said goodbye to Hermione, Harry, and the others, and then followed the large group to the station. The two sat face to face, each holding their pets, Lonkai and Crookshanks, in their arms. After we go back, can we no longer cast magic? Hermione said. I read in the book that only adult wizards can cast spells at will, and underage wizards are monitored by traces. How do they do it? Magic wand. The little witch was very puzzled by this, but she didn't care about this monitoring. Hermione had long been accustomed to the fact that underage people were not allowed to do anything illegal. Traces are a kind of contract magic, Ivan explained. Remember the list of people Professor McGonagall asked us to sign to go home a week ago? That's traces. To be precise, it's an agreement. Ivan, I thought this agreement would be signed during the summer vacation, but I didn't expect it to be signed on Christmas. Frustrated? Not free. Ivan didn't have so many boring thoughts. He was more concerned about the principle of the trace thread and how to crack it. Have you figured out anything? Hermione was faster than Ivan. The little witch set up a layer of soundproof magic in the box to avoid being eavesdropped. I have some ideas, but not many. Under the careful guidance of old Dumbledore, Ivan has mastered most of the white magic and shape-changing. He also has his own unique insights on alchemy and potions. The only thing Ivan has not really touched is contract magic. Old Dumbledore would never give Ivan contract magic to study. In the wizarding world, contracts have a strong binding force, and the unbreakable curse has the same instant death power as the killing curse. Have you encountered any problems? Hermione wanted a keyword so that she could find relevant information in a targeted manner. Don't look up knowledge in this area. Ivan interrupted Hermione's thoughts and told her that it was dangerous. It's not magic that's dangerous, but the Ministry of Magic. It seems that Hermione, you have to be patient this Christmas. 2 weeks without casting spells is nothing to Hermione. There are so many books, not all of which require the use of wands. 2 weeks of supplementing knowledge also makes Hermione happy. Unbelievable. Little witch, trace can actually give you a headache. I'm not omnipotent. Ivan smiled and shook his head, his eyes shining with silver light. The essence of the trace thread is an interactive monitoring method. It reacts quickly, but it's not accurate enough. Accurate, in short, although the trace thread can determine whether the little wizard casts a spell, it doesn't know who cast the magic. That's why students from wizard families don't have to worry about the trace thread problem at all, as long as there are adults around. I can see that there is a golden thread wrapped around us. Ivan raised his hand, and in his sight, the golden translucent energy thread was worn on the wrist like a bracelet. Hermione, as well as the little wizards after school, almost everyone carried this thing. Very interesting magic. Ivan shook his hand, his face calm, without any panic. How should I put it? The difficulty is not how to crack it, but how to do it silently. The trace is not on the wand, but on the little wizard himself. So even if you use someone else's wand, you can still be located. But there is something interesting. Ivan said, you can't get rid of the trace by changing the wand. But the trace cannot locate wandless spells. This can be said to be the most incomprehensible thing for Ivan, because it does not conform to the conclusion that the trace is on the wizard. No, it is not impossible to locate wandless spells. If someone around the little wizard casts a spell, whether it is wandless or not, it will be detected by the school thread. Harry in the second grade was tricked by Dobby. It doesn't seem to make much difference to you, Ivan. Yeah, Ivan said, but first you have to hide the wand in advance. The wand itself has a range of trace monitoring areas. Within the area, even if you cast a spell without a wand, it will still be monitored by the trace. So, you need to throw the wand far away before casting without permission. Can we sit here? Parvati and her sister Padma stood outside the car. Ivan and Hermione picked up the cat from the seat beside them and put it on their knees at the same time. What are you talking about? Parvati sat down and asked very naturally. Sister Padma seemed a little restrained. She sat next to Ivan carefully, occasionally looking down at him. But she would soon look back, afraid of being discovered. This repeated several times, which made Hermione speechless. Talking about traces. Ivan didn't say much, just mentioned it. Ah, Parvati, this is really uncomfortable. It feels like I have learned magic, but nothing has been learned. If you're not allowed to use magic, then what is the point of learning magic? Is that right, Padma? Padma was startled when her sister called her name. What? The little girl's face was slightly red, and her big eyes looked forward as much as possible to avoid looking at Ivan. Parvati raised her eyebrows, patted her sister's thigh, and then said to Ivan, "You are shy when you see our first grade genius wizard." As soon as these words came out, Padma immediately started to play with her sister in shame and anger. Soon, Hermione, who was affected, joined the battle. For a while, in the small box, 3 little girls were teasing and playing, laughing and talking. The train arrived, and Ivan and Hermione separated at the station. Mr. Granger drove to pick up his daughter and asked Ivan if he wanted to live in his house. "I want to go back to the orphanage first." Ivan needs to report to the people in the orphanage that he is safe, which is very important. "Okay, Mr. Granger, we welcome you to visit us at any time." "I will." Ivan smiled and nodded, then watched Mr. Granger and Hermione leave. Meow. Yumi lay in Ivan's arms. After 4 months of growth, the little guy is almost the same as an ordinary house cat. "Go home." Ivan left the station while playing with the exquisite sycamore wand in his hand. He had changed into ordinary people's clothes, and the pedestrians around him would not pay attention to the small wooden stick in a child's hand. "I'll be separated from you for a while." The Wutone wand heated up slightly, and the phoenix separated and merged with Ivan's blood. But the wand still has its own will and is absolutely loyal to Ivan. As if it felt that it was leaving Ivan, the Wutone wand conveyed a feeling of reluctance. Sorry. Ivan was also reluctant, but he had no calendar. The traceless telescopic bag could not prevent the trace thread. So if you want to cast spells safely and not be discovered by the Aurors, you have to put the wand away from yourself. But in this way, the storage problem of the wide wand will be difficult to guarantee. Of course, this problem has been solved. Secret hut. Yes, the secret space can block the trace thread. Ivan remembered clearly that when he stepped into the secret space, the golden silk thread wrapped around his wrist began to dissipate. In fact, Ivan should have thought of this earlier. The secret world obviously does not belong to the wizard world, nor is it an area such as Hogwarts, where spells can be cast freely. It is no different from the Muggle world to the wizard world. But I cast a spell there, and the Ministry of Magic didn't notice anything wrong. It can be seen that the secret space has the power to isolate contract magic. But it's not certain yet. Ivan really wants to do an experiment, such as asking 2 people to make an unbreakable oath and then bring one of them to the secret space, and then let him break the oath. If the secret space really has the power to cut off the contract, then even if the person breaks the oath, the contract will not have any effect on him. Alas, Ivan shook his head and put this terrible thing behind him. He didn't want to be the kind of crazy scientist. Power is tempting, but human emotions are also beautiful. You have to grasp this degree. In this way, Ivan returned to the orphanage where he grew up. He took out the gift and various gifts at the door. In addition, Ivan found that magic props, such as traceless telescopic bags, could not be detected by traces. What a crude contract magic! Ivan sighed in his heart. He pushed the door open and was soon welcomed by the children in the orphanage. A good night's dream. The next day, Ivan said goodbye to the director and the children formally. From today, Ivan will completely move out of the orphanage. In their opinion, Ivan met a kind person and was adopted. In fact, that person was Ivan in disguise. All the documents were made by Ivan himself, completely legal and reasonable, and no one could find any loopholes. Adopting yourself. I guess no one has ever done this before. Ivan got in a taxi and asked the driver to go to the manor he bought. The entire manor covers a large area, and the independent villa covers an area of more than 400 square meters. Outside is nearly 1,600 square meters of grass and woods. The manor is surrounded by snow-white stone walls, and there is only an ancient and elegant iron gate facing the gate of the villa. Here, a group of financial elites in suits are waiting for their employers. That is, it's Ivan. Follow my request and go short with all your strength. Ivan used his disguise to change his appearance from a little wizard of 11 or 12 years old to a young man in his 20s. He has short silver hair, a tall and straight figure, a handsome appearance, and an elegant temperament. The most important thing is that they cannot refuse Ivan's orders. Ivan is no longer the same as before. The powerful magic allows Ivan to handle modern hot weapons with ease. Even if there is a ministry of magic supervising him, Ivan is still not in vain. A group of incompetent people who are just sitting there doing nothing. Ivan feels that if he is ruthless, he may be able to single-handedly defeat the entire Kwong FA ministry. Of course, the premise is that Old Deng does not take action. Ivan is both afraid of and grateful to Old Deng. To be honest, if possible, Ivan does not want to be an enemy of Old Deng. Fortunately, the old principal understands people's hearts very well, and he is not as irritable and strict as in the later parts of the movie. Ivan knows Dumbledore is a kind old grandfather who is so kind that he makes people sick. He can see that the old headmaster is really cultivating him, hoping to guide Ivan on the right path. Sometimes, it's hard to repay a favor. Dumbledore's teachings, McGonagall's care, the trust of professors, and the following of Hermione and Harry. Ivan is no longer the silent person who lives alone. Go! Ivan sent these people away. As a wizard, Ivan doesn't have much in common with these ordinary people. They just need to work for themselves and make money. Meow. Yumi jumped up from behind the sofa, landed on Ivan's shoulder, and then entered the Master Huichin. The little guy is very unfamiliar with this manor. There is no way. Such a big manor. Only Ivan lives alone. It is indeed a bit deserted. Let's go. Let's explore here. From now on, this is our home. Ivan put Yumi on the ground, then stood up and visited the hall with Mau Mau. By the way, we have to ask the owl to send an invitation letter to Penelope Sr. I hope she likes it here. 11-foot senior Wenru has promised Ivan that she will follow Ivan and be his assistant, secretary, for the next 2 weeks. She will get to know the Muggle world with Ivan and gain more knowledge. Chapter 89. Pick up the senior sister home on the third day after Christmas. Ivan and Yumi appeared in Diagon Alley. After waiting for a while at the leaky cauldron, the doorbell rang and a girl with long brown hair pushed the door open. It was Penelope. The senior was carrying a box. Seeing Ivan sitting next to her drinking butterbeer, she hurried over to sit down. Happy Christmas vacation. Penelope greeted Ivan first, then waved to Yumi. You too, cute little cat. Meow. Yumi liked Penelope very much. She jumped into the arms of the senior and played happily. Another glass of butterbeer. Ivan shouted to old Tom at the counter and then said, You've been tired on the road. Is there anything you want to eat? Thank you, butterbeer is very good. Penelope did not refuse, picked up the glass of butterbeer prepared for her, and drank it. While the senior was enjoying the delicious drink, Ivan tapped his fingers, made the girl's gifts smaller one by one, and then put them in his pocket. The traceless retraction charm cannot be abused, so Ivan did not bring his bag. However, with the shrinking charm, it does not make much difference. In addition, There are a large number of adult wizards in the Leaky Cauldron, and casting spells here will not attract the 603 warning letter from the Ministry of Magic. Beautiful, wandless casting. The wizard on the side saw Ivan's action. His eyes widened, and he looked unbelievable. I have never seen a little wizard of your age with such magic power. Ivan did not have any sneaky thoughts. He tilted his head and smiled. Maybe I work harder. Well, the wizard did not want to talk anymore. In this world, every once in a while, there will always be a few geniuses, nothing strange. Have you finished it? Penelope was talking about the matter of the trace, but Ivan was a little helpless. Not yet, but it's not a big problem. That's good. The senior believed that Ivan would solve the problem of the trace sooner or later. She asked, "Where are we going next? And Hermione, will she come too?" Hermione is going to spend Christmas with her family. They have agreed to go out for a trip. Penelope was a little surprised. She thought Hermione would go with them. Unexpectedly, it became their private time. Fortunately, the senior is still the senior. The older sister is calm and not worried about what will happen. After all, it's not certain who will suffer. Where are we going next? My home. Ivan answered very straightforwardly. He drank the butterbeer in one gulp and then left the bar with Penelope. Senior, can you give me your wand? Oh, okay. Penelope trusted Ivan so much that she took out the wand from her sleeve without hesitation and handed it to Ivan. Ivan was a little amused. Senior, you'd better be more cautious in the future. Ivan felt that Penelope's awareness of prevention was too weak, even though she trusted him so much. But the question is, will someone use the polyjuice potion to pretend to be Ivan in the future? I know, Penelope, but the one standing in front of me now is my junior Ivan, right? Please remove the word little. It's very rude to a boy. Ivan took the wand in his hand and then began to use the research results of the 3 days on the secret realm of the wardrobe to initially ban the wand. Okay, it can't last too long. It will probably be blocked for a few minutes. As he spoke, Ivan raised his arm and motioned Penelope to hold his arm. The senior knew what Ivan wanted to do, so she reached out her hand without hesitation. The next moment, the two figures disappeared instantly. Pop! Accompanied by the sound of the air, the two appeared in front of Ivan's newly purchased manor. Apparition, Penelope. You learned this magic in advance now? It's nothing strange, Ivan said. After all, I am the favorite student of Principal Dumbledore. Okay. Penelope didn't know what to say. The principal personally gave the little wizard special training. You know, apparition is a magic that can only be learned in the 7th grade. Where is this? The manor Ivan bought is not in the city center. There are no other residents around, and it seems particularly quiet. My home. The senior knew that Ivan was rich, but with such a large manor, those who didn't know would think that Ivan was a descendant of an ancient pureblood family. Not bad, right? Ivan, it's a pity that I live alone, but if you are included, there are 2 of us now. Is there a difference? Penelope had no idea what the difference was between 1 person and 2 people. Such a large villa, with only 2 people living in it, would be so quiet at night that it would be scary. Let's transform it together. This was the purpose of Ivan inviting Penelope. The senior provided suggestions, and Ivan cast the spell. The 2 worked together to build this paradise for the mysterious friends. I've been studying the Fidelius recently. It's a very ancient and powerful magic that can hide a secret in someone's soul. I've heard of this spell. The Fidelius is an extremely complex spell, and the magic will hide a person's secret forever in the soul of a living person. The secret is hidden in the heart of the chosen person, the keeper, so it will never be discovered, unless the keeper actively discloses it. So as long as the keeper doesn't reveal it, even if the thief puts his nose against the glass of their living room, he won't see them. Before, I was thinking about what method I should use to solve the traces on you. Ivan, then I thought, since we already have the Fidelius charm, why should we waste energy to solve the trace thread? As long as we use the Fidelius charm, we can hide this manor in someone's soul. In this way, the spells cast in the manor will not be tracked by the trace thread. The principle behind this is like a bigger oath covering the original agreement. I studied it for a long time, and found that this is the best way to break the contract. Dad said that magic should be used to defeat magic. Ivan has thought about directly cutting off the contract. The spatial isolation of the secret world can do this very well. The method Ivan used to seal Penelope's wand just now also came from the secret world. It is quite difficult to cut it off completely. Ivan said, "The trace thread is not really a line. Its structure is far more complicated than we imagined." How should I put it? Ivan said that there are capable people in the Ministry of Magic. We underestimated the Ministry of Magic. The magic of trace thread is not something that can be researched by ordinary networks. The protagonists in the fan fictions of the previous life could easily solve the trace, and some people even thought that the trace was set in the wand. It's not that simple. According to the classification, the tracer is likely to be a kind of advanced magic involving the soul. Such magic is very rare in the wizarding world. The known ones are the Fidelius Charm and the Book of Admission to Hogwarts. Excuse me. Penelope slowly raised her hand. I must explain that I have never underestimated the Ministry of Magic. The Ministry of Magic is the institution that governs the British wizarding world after all. Penelope, isn't it normal to have some background? Is it normal? If there are really strong people in the Ministry of Magic, how can they be Voldemort broke in and destroyed the Time Office and the Hall of Prophecy in the Department of Mysteries? From this, it can be seen that there are indeed secrets inside the Ministry of Magic that wizards outside the Ministry do not know. But there's no need to look too highly on it. The wizards who left behind their research results have long passed away, and it is hard to say whether there are still strong ones now. Probably not. Ivan thought of the officials of the Ministry of Magic who were in their positions and did nothing in the original book. Gamblers, flatterers, spies, traitors, and fudge. The self-deceiving Minister of Magic. The atmosphere of intrigue and power calculation is definitely not formed in 1 or 2 years. And as long as it exceeds a few decades, there is a high probability that the inheritance of the Ministry of Magic will be directly cut off. Everyone is engaged in power struggles, who will calm down and do research. If I have the opportunity in the future, I would like to go to the Ministry of Magic to have a look. Ivan's words made Penelope stun slightly, and suddenly, the senior sister didn't know what she thought of and saw the girl's face change slightly. Well, I have a question. What? Ivan, the prophecy you showed me last time, did it mean that I would work in the Ministry of Magic? Penelope discovered a blind spot. As far as I know, your predictions are 100% accurate, right? Once a prediction is made, seeing 0.2 is bound to happen. But I have accepted your employment, Ivan. Why does such a picture appear? Penelope couldn't understand this. Could it be that Ivan's plan was exposed and the mysterious side was forced to disband? Well, Ivan didn't answer immediately, but handed Penelope's wand to Yumi, and the little guy took it away and put it in a safe place. This is naturally not that Ivan wants to hurt Penelope, but that he is ready to cast a spell. In order to avoid being detected by the wand, Ivan needs to keep a safe distance. The last prophecy is not all. A hazy white mist floated from Ivan's body. Penelope had seen this scene once in the room of requirement. The girl knew that Ivan was going to make a prediction again. Come and see the real future. Ivan slowly exhaled a white mist and let it drift in the courtyard of the manor. Soon, the white mist began to condense and a new picture emerged. In a huge circular square, countless wizards stood on the surrounding stands, and they cast their eyes on the young man in the center. With short silver-white hair and handsome appearance, it was Ivan in his youth. Chapter 90. The Loyalty Curse. Judging from the smoke, Ivan should be around 15 years old at that time. Of course, this is only seen with the naked eye. Because of the disguise Magus, Ivan can't judge the period of the fog picture. Beside Ivan, Penelo stood there naturally like Vito Rogier back then. There is no doubt that Penelo will join Ivan's team in the future and follow him. Where is this? Penelo looked at the picture in the fog and found that there were many adult wizards in it. They stared at Ivan, and all their eyes were on the boy standing in the center, listening to his speech. Père Lachaise Cemetery. What is that place? It's not in England, but in Paris, France. This is the second time Ivan has watched this prophecy. Although I don't quite understand why we have to go there, according to what we see now, It seems that we initiated the call. The scene in front of me is too similar to Grindelwald's speech in Ivan's memory. The same place, also ignored. If there is another prophecy about the future, Ivan can almost be said to have replicated what Grindelwald did in Paris. It seems that we will make a big fuss in the future. Penelope was a little nervous. She took a few deep breaths to relax herself. Fortunately, the senior sister was not that scared. From the moment she witnessed Ivan killing the troll in seconds, Penelope knew that the junior brother in front of her would definitely stand at the top of the magic world in the future. It's really big. He chose to make trouble in Paris. Ivan looked at the door of the villa that was close at hand and slowly pushed it open. However, no matter what the plan is at that time, we must first ensure our own safety. Ivan takes this very seriously. It's best to achieve the goal. If you fail, there will be another time. He doesn't want to see his companions get injured or killed. Well, except Ronald. Anyway, that guy likes to be in the limelight. The first bird to stick out gets shot. If there is any danger, Ivan thinks that Ronald Confidence should be able to solve the problem easily. Then why did I go to the Ministry of Magic? I have a guess. Ivan thought for a moment and said, Senior sister, you will graduate from Hogwarts in 2 years, and at that time, Harry and his friends will only be in the 3rd grade. The team is still young, and Ivan doesn't think he will do anything big. Compared to fighting alone, Ivan prefers to cultivate a team and then lead them to gain glory together. Excuse me for being blunt. Penelope, the gap between us and you, Ivan, is too big. For Ivan, Harry, Hermione, and herself are usually dispensable. A group of little wizards, it's good enough if they don't hold Ivan back. That's not necessarily true. Ivan smiled. The gap is big, that's true, but it's a bit too much to say it's dispensable. The two walked into the living room, and Ivan cast a life spell and started making lunch. Is it okay to cast like this? Looking at the kitchen utensils and cleaning tools in the house that seemed to come alive, Penelope couldn't help asking. Don't worry. Ivan turned his palm. Pure wandless casting, trace thread can't detect it. Do you want to eat anything? It's all right. Penelope smiled and said, I'm not picky about food. Okay. Ivan tapped his fingers and quickly confirmed the recipe. So, in the kitchen, pots and pans seemed to come alive, the refrigerator was opened, and all kinds of ingredients jumped out, and they cooperated very well to complete the cleaning and cutting. I always think that this is definitely the magic that countless housewives want to learn the most. What makes Ivan happy most in the wizarding world is these small spells that can make life extremely convenient. They are very easy to get started, and almost all of them can be learned. The only problem may be the level of skill. Just like cooking, first the wizard must learn to cook, and then he can use magic and skip the steps in the middle. As for the food made, it is basically the true level of the chef's cooking skills. Other things, such as washing clothes and cleaning, are based on the principle of attaching the wizard's mind to the utensils to make them work automatically. It's a pity that muggles can't learn these. Penelope thought of her mother complaining about this many times when her father was still alive. It's unbelievable that muggles need to do something that can be solved by waving a wand. Okay. Ivan turned on the TV and sat on the sofa with his senior sister. Let's continue the previous topic. I think that you will go to the Ministry of Magic to work, which is probably due to my request. Penelope reacted quickly and said, You mean send me to the Ministry of Magic undercover? Very likely. Ivan said, Senior sister, have you heard of the Department of Mysteries? What department? The Department of Mysteries is also a secret department in the Ministry of Magic, and there is almost no channel for external contact. The Department of Mysteries, a special department of the Ministry of Magic. Ivan said, People who work there are called silent people, who will sign a contract magic and cannot reveal the research content and results of the Department of Mysteries to outsiders. Is there such a place? Penelope became interested, but unfortunately Ivan did not intend to let her sneak in. It was too dangerous. The power of the contract cannot be underestimated. Ivan said bluntly, It's too dangerous to lurk in. Even if you want to go, I must lead the team myself. His attitude was very serious. Penelope nodded obediently, indicating that she understood. So, I entered the Ministry of Magic to obtain information about the Department of Mysteries. The senior sister found the task she needed to perform: sneak into the Ministry of Magic and find a way to the Department of Mysteries. At the same time, she also needed to collect as much information as possible about that department. I understand. Penelope accepted the task. The senior sister had her own persistence in her work. Since she decided to work for Ivan, she would not regret it. Although going to the Ministry of Magic as an undercover agent is a bit obedient, this kind of thing is very common in the wizarding world. Who of those pureblood families hasn't planted their own spies in the Ministry of Magic? They can have it. Why can't Ivan? Penelope, I am the spy planted by my junior in the Ministry of Magic. Let's eat first. Ivan saw that lunch was ready, so he controlled the plate and let it float to the dining table by itself. Okay. Penelope stood up gracefully and enjoyed a very rich lunch with Ivan, which made her very satisfied. After lunch, Ivan told Penelope what he was going to do next. I plan to cast the Fidelius charm, turn this manor into a secret, and hide it in my soul. Did you learn it so quickly, Penelope? I remember that, Ivan. You just got this magic from Principal Dumbledore before the Christmas holiday? 3 days, just 3 days. Ivan learned the Fidelius charm, an ancient magic that almost 99% of people cannot master. Well, Penelope has become numb. Ivan is a wall hanger. It's really stupid to think with common sense. I think it's almost done. Ivan admitted that the Fidelius charm is indeed difficult. However, no matter how difficult the magic is, it will be tested sooner or later. Now, the opportunity has come. Don't worry. It's not a big problem even if you fail. Ivan's soul is extremely powerful. Other wizards will suffer a certain backlash if they fail to cast a spell, but Ivan will not. The soul attribute of 5 points is too high. Take the magic of the Fidelius charm as an example. To hide a secret in the soul of a living person is to be a secret keeper. Theoretically, a secret keeper can only keep one secret, no matter how profound the magic attainments are. The Fidelius charm cannot hide 2 secrets in the soul of the same person. Ivan asked Dumbledore how many secrets he could keep. The old headmaster did not intend to hide this. He told Ivan that he had been a secret keeper for many friends. Even now, there are still 5 secrets in the soul. Yes, embryo. The soul of an ordinary wizard can only keep 1 secret. But Dumbledore, he can keep 5. Ivan estimated that Dumbledore's soul attribute is very high. Maybe there is still a gap from 5 points, but it is definitely infinitely close to 4 points. The reason for this conclusion is that Ivan estimated the number of secrets he can keep through the Fidelius charm. I can keep more than 10 secrets. The amazing number is not exaggerated compared to the old headmaster's 5 secrets. Soul attribute, 4 points to 5 points, is a qualitative change. Based on this calculation, 4 points of magic can keep more than 5 secrets, and 5 points can keep more than 10 secrets. Old Dang's 5, I don't know if it is his limit. However, according to the existing information, Soul 4, Magic 5, this is the current attribute of the old principle that Ivan has obtained. Do you need me to go out? No. Ivan shook his head and explained, the Fidelius charm is not such a rigid spell. Otherwise, if you cast a spell on a house, do you have to drive out the snakes, insects, rats, and ants in the house? Is the Fidelius charm such an inconvenient thing? Everything in the manor will be regarded as part of the secret by the Fidelius charm. But this secret must be in the area considered by the Fidelius charm. Ivan said, in short, you are staying in the manor now, and I will hide the manor in the Soul Minister. After completing the magic, you will not lose your memory of the manor. However, once Penelope leaves the manor, she will immediately lose all information about the manor. Unless you have learned about the existence of this place from me before leaving the manor, Ivan. Otherwise, you who leave the manor will not be considered as an insider. What a magical magic. Penelope didn't know how to describe the special magic of the Fidelius spell. Is this the realm of the soul? I really don't know when I can understand such profound magic like you, Ivan. I will. Ivan gave the senior an encouraging look and then shouted to one side, Yumi, my magic wand. The Fidelius spell requires extremely strong magic power as support. Without the Wutone wand, Ivan will definitely fail to cast the spell. Meow. On the other side, Yumi was seen returning with the Wutong wand. The little guy was very resentful at this time, because just now she first sent Penelope's magic wand into the secret realm of the closet, and then took Ivan's Wudong magic wand from the room over there. The back and forth made the cat tired. Okay, I know you're working hard. Ivan took out a handful of dried fish and handed it to Yumi. Come on, 610, eat it. Meow. The little guy then lowered his head in satisfaction and happily ate the tribute from his master. So cute. Penelope stepped forward, picked up Yumi and put her in her arms, and picked up the dried fish with her other hand to feed her. The girl sat on the steps in front of the villa, watching the little brother holding the magic wand and starting to chant. As she watched, Penelope frowned slightly, and she found problem. That is, Ivan seems to be holding the magic wand and casting a spell now. Thinking of this, Penelope immediately reacted. This is also possible. She noticed it. The operating principle of the trace thread is that when the little wizard casts a spell near the magic wand, it will be detected by the Ministry of Magic. The magic wand here not only refers to the little wizard's magic wand, but also other people's magic wands. So in order to break the bondage of the trace, the young wizard needs to use wandless spells while ensuring that there is no wand in a certain area around. Now, Ivan cast a spell, still holding his own wand to cast the Fidelius spell. The spell of the Fidelius spell is very complicated and cannot be completed in 1 or 2 minutes. However, as Ivan continued to recite, invisible power began to cover the entire manor. At the same time, the trace that was supposed to be activated also began to lose its effectiveness after sending out the signal. The location cannot be determined. A logical judgment appeared in Penelope's mind. The trace detected Ivan casting a spell and fed back the information here to the Ministry of Magic. However, there's a problem here. That is, the Ministry of Magic cannot obtain any information about the manor. Because of the Fidelius charm, everything related to the manor will become a secret, hidden in Ivan's soul. In a disguised way, this is to directly erase a certain concept from the real world, even if Ivan is continuously casting the spell. But as long as Ivan can complete this magic, the Ministry of Magic will still lose the target and fail to track. Of course, even if Ivan fails to cast the spell, it is terrible. At worst, he can tell the Ministry of Magic that he is experimenting with magic. With Dumbledore behind him and being a first-time offender, Ivan, who is familiar with the Ministry of Magic's law enforcement rules, will receive the most serious punishment, which is just a warning letter. 1 magic, testing the reactions of both sides at the same time. Feeling the magic that was almost successful, Ivan said to himself, test the working method of the trace thread, and also use the trace thread to see if the Fidelius charm is really that invincible. From what I can see now, it's just as I thought. Ivan, the secrecy mechanism of the Fidelius spell still needs to be under the supervision of the hospital. Chapter 91, The Magic of Hidden Concepts. The invisible breeze blew through the courtyard, making the trees in the courtyard rustle. There were no high walls or magic barriers to block, but the manor and the outside of the manor were like 2 different worlds. Success. Ivan put down his wand and exhaled. Nothing in the manor changed in his eyes, but Ivan knew that his magic had not failed. The Fidelius charm had sealed all the information about the manor as a secret in the depths of his soul, becoming a secret that belonged to one person alone. A wonderful experience. Ivan looked at his wrist and found that the trace that was originally wrapped there had disappeared. Sure enough, it was just as he expected. The secret sealing of the Fidelius charm covered the real-time monitoring of the trace. Yumi. Hearing his master calling him again, Zhuomi's cute little face suddenly collapsed. This time, he had to run a long way back and forth. Life is not easy, the cat sighed. You did it. Penelope came to Ivan, and the girl looked around. Like Ivan, she didn't feel any difference. Want to experience it? Ivan said, and took the manor out of the manor. And the moment Penelope stepped out of the manor, the girl inexplicably felt that she had lost something. I seem to have forgotten something. Not long after this thought came up, Penelope forgot what she had forgotten. Why am I standing here? Penelope looked at Ivan beside her, her eyes full of confusion and puzzlement. Senior sister, do you remember what we were doing just now? Of course I remember. Penelope wanted to speak reflexively, but when the words came to her lips, the girl was stunned. What were we doing just now? The Fidelius spell directly swept away all memories related to the manor. This includes how to hide the manor and what is hidden specifically. For Penelope, she remembered that Ivan came to the leaky cauldron to pick her up, then cast apparition to bring her here, and invited her to have a sumptuous lunch. The girl could clearly remember what she had just eaten, but she just couldn't think of more. For example, where she had lunch, how she stood here after lunch, and what she was supposed to do. Senior, can you see the gate behind me? What gate? Penelope was confused. The gate was right in front of her, but the girl couldn't focus on it. This was a very special experience. It was as if her cognition had been modified. It's a bit like the Muggle repelling spell, but it's much more complicated. Ivan noticed that a bird was flying straight to the courtyard. And just as the bird was about to approach the manor, it made a sharp turn, as if there was a high wall in front of it that separated the two worlds invisibly. Ivan tried to read the bird's thoughts and found that it didn't realize why it had to stop and turn. Incredible. Ivan found it difficult to evaluate the mystery of the Fidelius spell. This kind of magic involving the soul is simply incredible. It can hide secrets. The secrets here are far more than just the actual residents. Ivan thinks that this magic can also hide some events or even conceptual things. However, Ivan had calculated this magic when he was learning it. The more illusory the hidden secret is, the more things it contains, and the higher the demand for magic power will be. With Ivan's current magic power, he can only hide a small town at most, and will instantly exhaust his soul capacity. Afterwards, Ivan and Penelope conducted some more tests. The result was that the secret of the manor was perfectly hidden. Ivan used many means, but he could not find the existence of the manor from the outside world. Until Ivan took Penelope's hand and led her into the manor himself. Where is this? The moment she stepped into the gate of the manor, the memories that Penelope had forgotten because of magic came like a tide. I remember it. Penelope's beautiful eyes flickered, and her eyes were full of surprise. Ivan, you cast the loyalty spell on the manor and hid it. Well, Ivan, from now on, this will be our exclusive base outside the school for the mysterious side. At the same time, the manor will also serve as one of our safe houses to protect members. As he was talking, Yumi ran over from the villa. The little guy was full of resentment and reluctantly returned Penelope's wand to her. Thank you, Yumi. Penelope hugged Yumi distressedly and comforted her in various ways. Ahem. Ivan smiled awkwardly. He really regarded Yumi as a tool cat. Thinking carefully, if Yumi didn't have catkin blood, she would be extremely loyal to her master. If it were the Muggle world's cat masters who couldn't keep their cats well, I'm afraid they would have already hanged Ivan on the road in their hearts. Don't be angry. Ivan touched the cat's head and said, it seems that the decoration should be postponed. Give her some rewards first. I was going to ask the senior sister for some advice. Ivan shrugged. You know, boys are not very good at these. Can I? Of course, Ivan smiled. I was going to let every member participate, but they have something to do, so I can only ask you, senior sister. It's my honor. Penelope was very excited. The little girl was really interested in decorating the house. Meow. Yumi called a few times unhappily, and Penelope understood immediately. Okay. Ivan, let's deal with Yumi's matter first. Penelope was keenly aware of something strange. That was the gift Ivan had prepared for Yumi, which seemed very unusual. Okay, Ivan, senior, do you know blood magic? Blood magic? Although Penelope was smart and the best little witch in Hogwarts, she obviously had no way of knowing about high-end things like blood magic without any pure blood inheritance. I haven't heard of it. Penelope guessed. It sounds like magical animals? Almost. Ivan waved his wand and created many magical animals in the air. The bodies of magical creatures are different from ours, and they are born with certain magic. No spells or wands are needed, but they can be used at will. Blood magic and magic transformation are extremely cutting-edge knowledge, even in the entire magic world. Most wizards will never be able to come into contact with them in their entire lives. Ivan has talent, coupled with Dumbledore's teachings and the collection of books accumulated in Hogwarts for thousands of years. So he has the honor to observe the research results of ancient wizards on blood return. It must be said that the world of ancient wizards is full of darkness and blood. Many of today's strange magical creatures are accidentally created by them in magic experiments. Werewolves and vampires in Europe, mummies in Egypt, zombies in the East. There are too many of them. It is hard to imagine how many people died directly or indirectly in Gangshaochen during this period. Ivan, do you mean that you want to help Yumi return her ancestral bloodline? Now, Penelope was extremely surprised. She felt that she had underestimated Ivan's experience again. When all the little wizards were still learning step by step, Ivan had already begun to study such profound magic. Penelope really didn't know what heights Ivan would reach in a few years. Wait, isn't Yumi a cat? After being surprised, Penelope had another question. How can a cat go back to its ancestors? Cats evolve and become tigers? Even if she hadn't studied evolution and biology, Penelope knew that the ancestors of cats were not tigers. In fact, Yumi is not an ordinary pet cat. Ivan explained, she has the bloodline of Catkin, and what I have to do is to activate the power hidden in Yumi again. Animals and magical creatures are just like muggles and wizards. Yumi is a wizard among cats. She has the bloodline of a catkin. The catkin here is not a certain kind of cat, as muggles think. In the wizarding world, catkins are actually a magical creature that looks like a cat. The appearance of a cat Kneazle may seem gentle, but its personality is fickle. A pure-blooded cat Kneazle has extraordinary wisdom and can easily distinguish between good and evil. It is willing to be the best pet of a light wizard, but it will also directly attack a wizard with bad morals or who is suspected of breaking the law. Therefore, the one who tames a cat Kneazle needs to have extraordinary moral character, wisdom, and ability. Ivan has carefully studied the origin of this magical creature, the cat Kneazle, and found that the earliest record of the cat Kneazle was in Egypt. Penelope could imagine that Ivan had definitely put a lot of thought into the issue of Yumi's bloodline returning to his ancestral lineage. Yes, Egypt. Ivan, Muggles believe that Egypt is the first country in the world to raise cats. The ancient Egyptians regarded cats as patron saints, believing that they were jailers guarding the underworld, protecting the good dead, and warning evildoers. This is very similar to the habits of a creature like a cat Kneazle. Intelligent, sharp, able to distinguish between good and evil, and will actively attack evil people. That being said, it seems to be true. Penelope looked at Yumi in her arms. The little guy also heard what Ivan said. Meow, meow. Yumi can understand human language. The little guy raised his chin proudly when he heard Ivan praising him. He was so cute. Okay, you are the best. Ivan gently rubbed Yumi's head with his fingers, making it purr comfortably. My eyes can see the magic composition of magical creatures. As he said that, Ivan raised his head, and his eyes, with a slightly silver glow, made Penelope immersed in it. It is through this ability that I analyze the changing rules between the magic and blood of different creatures. Ivan said it easily, but this kind of thing is pure fantasy for other wizards. Even as powerful as Slytherin, one of the four giants, he would conduct countless experiments before each magical transformation. Or ordinary animals or magical creatures, even living entities, are not rare. In the Dark Ages hundreds of years ago, countless pure-blood wizards had done such things, and the experimental records accumulated were full of blood. However, Ivan did not need to do this. All he needed was to observe the changes in magic power countless times to find the way to success. Relying on calculations and deductions, I designed a potion formula that can allow Yumi to return to her ancestral bloodline. Yes, a potion formula. To return to her ancestral bloodline and magical transformation, potions are indispensable. There are no potions in the East, but there are corresponding alchemy techniques. In essence, both are the essence of the materials extracted and the products of magic power ratio, and there is no better or worse. Penelope raised her hand. What is magical transformation? Ivan didn't expect Penelope to suddenly ask such a question. and for a moment he was a little unable to react. But thinking carefully, it seems that there is nothing wrong. Magical transformation is rarer than blood reversion because it is too dangerous. Among 100 wizards who perform magic transformation, only 10 can complete the potion. And after these 10 people drink the potion at a specific time and place, there may not be even one who can survive. Most wizards have become like Voldemort, or even more miserable. This kind of knowledge that can be called taboo is the deepest part hidden even in the forbidden book area. Magical transformation is similar to a Nimigus transformation. The specific process is to use extremely complex potion formulas to obtain the magic hidden in nature. This step is very important, but also the most troublesome and dangerous step. Magic in nature? What Ivan said was beyond Penelope's cognition. Is there such a thing? She never knew that there was magic in nature. Magic is everywhere and only possessed. To be precise, magic is invisible. It will attach to anything, including but not limited to humans, animals, plants, microorganisms, and even inanimate stones and water. Even the lightning that flashes across the sky may contain magic by luck. Of course, not everyone has magic. Only natural phenomena at a specific time, place, and environment can obtain that vital magic from nothingness. If blood reversion is to revive the power that already exists in the body, then magic transformation is stealing. In Ivan's previous life, magic transformation is stealing the secrets of heaven, night, death, time, space. Steal these invisible powers and integrate them into the body. There are 12 directions of magic transformation, corresponding to the 12 doors that are being studied at the same time. Wang Hao. Every time a wizard experiences a magic transformation, he will usher in a qualitative leap. Penelope's heart trembled when she heard this. Can anyone really do that? The girl couldn't help but tremble at the thought of integrating the concept of death into her body. This was too scary. It is precisely because of the difficulty that there are only a few wizards in the wizarding world who can complete magic transformation. Ivan has not seen anyone who can completely integrate this mysterious power. If it really reaches that point, it is estimated that it has reached the 6-point attribute in the system assessment. Magic transformation is too early for you, senior sister. What? Penelope heard this and shook her head. I haven't thought about this at all. From what Ivan said, wizards who can complete magic transformation have the potential to become great wizards without exception. She is just an ordinary little witch. How could she think about this? Nothing is absolute. Ivan did not dislike Penelope's inferiority, but I still need to improve. During this period, I want to let senior sister prepare for the practice of a Nimigus transfiguration. Kr. Penelope felt something was wrong the more she listened. No. Ivan, are you saying? Just as you think. Ivan looked into Penelope's eyes and said, I'll let you perform a magical transformation. After knowing the danger of magical transformation, Ivan's words were no less than telling Penelope to die. Don't be too nervous, senior. Ivan was surrounded by white mist again. Since I made such a decision, I must have my reasons. Come and see. That's why I think senior can succeed. After the words fell, pictures appeared again in the surrounding white mist. There, Penelope, who had opened her eyes and was no longer a young girl, was waving her wand and releasing powerful magic beams. One person beat more than a dozen Aurors and was still at ease. Chapter 92. Return of Ancestral Bloodline. Penelope said tremblingly, I will succeed. You saw it. The girl couldn't believe that the arrogant and cold lady in the picture was herself. In fact, Ivan was no less surprised than Penelope. After Penelope took the initiative to find him, Ivan's powerful soul power began to give him the future related to the girl intermittently. A successful magic transformation will bring great power to this beautiful senior. Maybe she can't compete with Voldemort and Dumbledore. But from the picture revealed in the prophecy mist, the senior's potential is definitely not small. Especially in magic attainments, Penelope's talent is even better than Hermione. Ivan will naturally do his best to cultivate such a powerful follower. Do you want to try it? Ivan said, I will design a magic transformation potion formula for you, and prepare the most likely place and environment for success. No need to answer immediately. Ivan saw that Penelope wanted to say something, so he stretched out his hand to stop the girl. Seeing is believing. I hope that senior sister can have a strong desire from the bottom of her heart. After a narrow escape from death through magic transformation, Ivan saw the gift of fate, but he was not 100% sure that Penelope was the lucky one. If Penelope refused, Ivan would still support her choice. This is just a suggestion. Ivan would not do anything to force others to face life and death crisis. Next, let me show you the method of blood return that I have researched. Ivan took Yumi from the arms of the senior sister. Are you ready, Yumi? Meow. A cat's cry woke Penelope up, and she saw Ivan took out a bottle of magic potion from his pocket. The magic potion was not big, and it contained a blue-black liquid. Through the glass, Penelope vaguely saw a wisp of gray-white mist in the liquid shuttle through the water, emitting a faint light. Demonstration? Yumi. Penelope really likes Yumi. Seeing that Ivan wants her to try blood awakening, she suddenly feels worried. Will it be dangerous? Don't worry, I have done experiments. Yumi is Ivan's favorite pet. It is not an exaggeration to say that she is a family member. If Ivan is not sure of safety, he will not use Yumi for experiments. In fact, Ivan has already tested it on those magical creatures in the secret world long before this. With the resources of an entire secret world as a foundation, Ivan can easily collect the materials needed for the potion. As for the results, there are failures and successes. 990, but overall, the majority are successful. After countless attempts, Ivan finally found the delicate balance between the blood reversion potion and the magical creatures with the help of the magic eye and spiritual vision. The blood reversion potion is not complicated. The complexity here means that there is no specific time requirement. Depending on the brewing time, it takes 10 days and a half months, and as short as 2 or 3 days to prepare a set. I can't guarantee success, but after so many experiments, the potion I prepared will not hurt magical creatures, even if it is ineffective. Just like the bottle in Ivan's hand, it took him 7 days to prepare. Even if the little guy fails, he will be depressed for a while at most, which is not a big deal. Ivan has already explained the risks and problems to Yumi. The little guy is very fierce and is not afraid of the risk of stomach. Proud.jpg. Let's start. Ivan opened the bottle cap, and Yumi opened her mouth very obediently, allowing the insider to pour the potion in the bottle. Gulp. After drinking the potion, Yumi didn't have any other reaction, but her little face immediately wrinkled into a ball. There's no way. The taste of potion is really anti-human. It's not that Ivan doesn't want to improve it, but it's simply impossible. The magic structure in the potion formula is extremely delicate. Any more or less will lead to bad consequences. Therefore, the taste and flavor can only be sacrificed. Is Yumi okay? Very good. Ivan continued to open the magic eye and carefully detected the flow of magic in the little guy's body. He held the magic wand and concentrated. If there is any problem, Ivan will immediately cut off the magic in his body. And this is the reason why Ivan dared to say that it is absolutely safe. As long as the magic can be cut off, then all the consequences, even if the body is blown into 2 pieces, Ivan has the confidence to heal it with magic. Of course, this is just an example. The actual situation is that with Ivan by his side, such a big mistake will not happen at all. The potion that Ivan developed for Yumi has controlled the error to the limit. Scare. Just as the two were concentrating, Yumi, who drank the potion, suddenly made a sharp cat cry. Her hair exploded all over her body, and her pupils kept shrinking and dilating. The originally tiny and tender fangs were changing to a more ferocious direction at a speed visible to the naked eye. MMM. Soon, Yumi's body fell to the ground, twitching constantly. A large amount of blood seeped out from Yumi's fur, and her body began to expand rapidly. From the original one-handed hug, it became the size of an ordinary Shiba Inu, and the fur on its body also changed from the original milky white to the dark blue. Gradually, Yumi calmed down. She seemed to have regained consciousness, but because she was too tired, she could only lie on the ground and gasp. Yumi. Ivan saw the last bit of magic light dim. How do you feel now? Are you uncomfortable? As he said, Ivan cast a cleaning spell on Yumi, cleaning away the bloodstains and fallen cat hair on her body. It feels so comfortable. It's just that my mouth is bitter and uncomfortable. The passive power of legitimacy began to work. Ivan heard Yumi's inner voice and went forward to pick her up. Good guy. Such a heavenly figure. Ivan, who was only 11 years old, couldn't even report it with his 2 hands. He could only barely hold her chest and abdomen. Just now, the magic impact brought by the potion lit up all the nodes in Yumi's bloodline. There is no doubt that from the perspective of the magic eye, Kale's bloodline combination is perfect. The master has become smaller. Yumi noticed Ivan, but was shocked. Instinctively, the enlarged cat jumped out of Ivan's arms. However, unlike the usual landing, Yumi was seen emitting a faint gray mist, and she was dragged into the air. For a moment, Yumi seemed to have no bones, twisting and turning in the air continuously, like a fish swimming in the air. Penelope witnessed Yumi's changes with her own eyes. But this did not reduce her surprise at all, but made her more shocked. Success. Ivan really helped Yumi complete her ancestral bloodline. Is the ability to fly? It's a bit simple. Ivan didn't know what the ancestors of the catkins in ancient Egypt were like. Forget it. Let's test it first. Yumi, come here. Ivan waved to the catkins, and the latter obediently flew towards the little master. Show your new ability. Meow. Yumi was stunned for a moment, then reacted and hurriedly felt the changes in her body carefully. The next moment, under the gaze of Ivan and Penelope, Yumi's body began to dissipate and then disappeared completely. Invisible. Penelope. Yumi has the same ability as the invisible beast? No, that's not right. Penelope remembered that the invisible beast's invisibility was not really disappearing. Their magic was more like the mimicry of a chameleon, but it was more difficult to detect. Based on this ability of the invisible beast, wizards developed the illusion spell. A more perfect invisibility ability than the illusion spell. Ivan turned on his spiritual vision and did not see Yumi's figure. It feels like he disappeared directly from the material world. Then, Ivan turned on his magic eye. This time, he successfully saw the blue-gray shadow flying in the air, which turned out to be a big, shining cat. Interesting ability. Ivan explained to Penelope. Yumi can transform into a magical state and thus escape from the material level. The power of clairvoyance is absolute on the material level. Even microscopic magical creatures that need to be magnified millions of times to be seen cannot escape the observation of clairvoyance. However, clairvoyance cannot detect the existence of ghosts. There is no doubt that Yumi's invisible state is very similar to that of ghosts. The only difference between the two should be that the former also has the invisibility effect, while the latter can be detected by magical beings. There are some magical creatures in the wizarding world that only wizards can see, but muggles cannot see. For example, dementors and ghosts. Ivan said, in addition, the thestrals can only be seen by people who have seen death. In order to verify what kind of invisibility Yumi has, Ivan cast several binding spells on her in succession. The result is that the spell can affect Yumi and can capture her. However, simple physical attacks and the substances created by transfiguration cannot touch Yumi after she becomes invisible. There is also this ability to not be seen, which seems to be absolute. Ivan tried many ways, but no matter what, he could not see Yutsai after she became invisible. The only way to spy on her is the magic brilliance from the perspective of the magic eye. The disillusionment spell can make itself transparent, but if you look closely, you can still find flaws. The invisibility of the Dementors is more advanced than the disillusionment spell. As for the Thestrals, Ivan felt that this condition-triggered invisibility ability was even better than that of the Dementors. Yumi's ability does not belong to the above three. Yumi's escape into nothingness is more perfect than them. Ivan was a little impatient and wanted to study the magic on Yumi. Since wizards can create the disillusionment spell from invisible beasts, Ivan can naturally develop a new spell based on Yumi that can escape into nothingness. Even if the effect is a little worse, It is a magic that can suppress the disillusionment spell. At least on the material level, this spell can completely hide all traces. Okay, Ivan closed the magic eye, rubbed his slightly sore eyes, and asked, "Do you have any other abilities, Yutsai?" Meow. The little girl showed her figure and then circled in the air leisurely. Ivan thought she looked like an otter now. Meow meow. Unfortunately, Yumi wandered around for a long time, but couldn't find a new ability. Invisibility away from the material level. You can fly in the air like swimming. And a greatly increased IQ. Ivan carefully recorded the changes in Yumi. That's all I can see for now. To sum it up, Ivan stroked Yumi's soft hair and announced to Penelope. This time, the bloodline regression was very successful. Perfect. Congratulations, Yumi. Penelope couldn't wait any longer. Seeing that Ivan had finished his observation, he hurried forward and hugged the big cat in his arms. The senior, like Hermione, was a staunch cat fan. She had no resistance to cute, fluffy creatures like cats. So, Ivan saw the girl bury her face in Yumi's chest. Cat sucking, crazy cat sucking. Luckily, Yumi was gentle, otherwise, Penelope would have to give her a cat punch for such a big move. Meow. Well, go play by yourself. Ivan said this, took out a piece of paper from his pocket, and wrote down the address of the manor on it. Wait, take a look at this first. Meow. Yumi looked at the piece of paper handed by Ivan, not quite understanding what it was. I was worried that you wouldn't be able to find your way home after running away. Now it's okay. The manor was protected by the Fidelius charm. It was okay for Yumi to play in the yard, but if she ran out, she would probably be in trouble. Only if you were brought into the manor by the secret keeper, or if the secret keeper tells the other party the location of the manor, can you find this place. It's incredible. Watching Yumi rolling and jumping on the grass, her carefree appearance calmed Penelope's originally nervous heart. I've decided, without waiting for Ivan to ask, Penelope gave her answer directly. I want to perform magic transformation. Fear? That's for sure. No one is not afraid of death. Even with Ivan's prophecy, no one can be sure whether it is true or false. Penelope agreed because she believed in Ivan. The senior sister didn't want to live a monotonous life like her mother. She longed for a colorful life. Now, the brightest lights are close at hand. What else is there to hesitate about? I promise that you will not regret your choice today. Ivan was very happy because it means that in the near future, Ivan will have a strong enough fighting force. What should I do? Start with the simple. Ivan took out a leaf and handed it to Penelope. This is... Penelope quickly discovered what the leaf was. A leaf of mandrake? Simply referring to a Animagus transfiguration. Animagus transfiguration is the top permanent human transformation in transfiguration. The senior sister is indeed very good and has learned transfiguration very well and has received various praises from Professor McGonagall. But even so, Penelope is still a little short of being able to practice Animagus transfiguration. Ivan, do you know that there are only 7 Animagus in the entire British wizarding world? Penelope is very grateful for Ivan's recognition, but she really can't do it. To be precise, there are only 7 registered Animagus. As for illegal Animagus, there must be a lot of them. Ivan took out a thick book, which was exactly the tips and tricks of Animagus cultivation from the Dumbledore family. It must be mentioned here that Harry's father's generation was really talented. Before graduation, he secretly completed the Animagus transformation, and a whole person. Ivan didn't believe that they were gifted. After all, Peter Pettigrew didn't look like a genius no matter how he looked at it. Compared to the theory of talent, Ivan believed more in Sirius, or that the Black family had some unknown secrets that could help wizards improve the success rate of Animagus cultivation. Chapter 93, Animagus. Even someone like Pettigrew can learn the methods of Animagus. Ivan was very interested in this. How do they do it? Pureblood families have a lot of good things. The Weasley family's magic props making, the Brush family's magic transformation skills. Some of these things may not even be known by a strong man like Dumbledore. An ancient family that has been passed down for thousands of years. What has been mastered and taken out by later generations is not an exaggeration to say that it is the tip of the iceberg. However, even with these few things, it is enough for countless people to spend their whole lives studying. Voldemort's brain is definitely broken. Thinking about what Voldemort did in those years, he did not continue to study magic, but spent all his time intimidating followers and killing people. Even if there are pure-blood families following, they ask for gold and silver, but put the truly precious knowledge behind their heads. Perhaps in Voldemort's eyes, the level of pure-blood wizards is just like that. And then it is not necessarily that he underestimates the inheritance of pure-blood families. Ivan despised Voldemort in his heart. Voldemort's short-sightedness. Pure-blood wizards are weak, but it doesn't mean that the inheritance is weak. It's a pity that Ivan can't get the precious inheritance of the pure-blood family. Dumbledore is not without a nose. Although the things of the pure-blood family are good, he will not covet them, let alone rob them. Fortunately, the Dumbledore family is also ancient, and there are similar things. Ivan can sense that Dumbledore seems to want him to inherit the heritage of the Dumbledore family. The book given to Penelope is one of them. Let's get ready first. Ivan said, "The practice of animagus is extremely time-consuming. Not only do you have to make potions, but you also have to wait for the right time to transform." I know. Penelope knows this very well. She is a good student of Professor McGonagall, so she naturally knows about this knowledge. In the wizarding world, if you want to practice animagus, first of all, you need a mandrake leaf and hold in your mouth for a whole month. During this period, as long as the leaf leaves the mouth, it means that all the previous efforts are wasted and the whole process has to start again. After the first step is completed, wait until the second full moon. Place the leaf soaked with your saliva in a small transparent bottle and let it receive pure moonlight. Then add your hair, a teaspoon of pure dew, and a hawkmoth pupa to the bottle. Let this mixture stand in a quiet and dark place, making sure it is not peeped or disturbed until the next storm comes. While waiting for the storm to come, point the tip of the magic wand to the heart at sunrise and sunset and chant the spell. Amadeo, Animo, Animato, Animag, Eut. The waiting time for the storm to come may take weeks, months, or even years. During this period, the crystal medicine bottle must remain completely undisturbed and out of contact with the sun. Sunlight pollution will cause the most serious mutations. If the spell is repeated repeatedly at sunrise and sunset, the practitioner will feel the changes brought about by this magic. When the tip of the magic wand touches the chest, a second heartbeat will be felt, sometimes stronger than the original heartbeat, sometimes weaker. Everything must remain unchanged, and the spell must be recited the correct number of times without missing any. Until, when lightning breaks through the sky, immediately go to the place where the crystal vial is buried. Dig out the potion. If all the above steps are completed correctly, you will find that the potion in the bottle has turned blood red. At this time, the wizard must immediately go to a large and safe place to ensure that the transformation process will not attract attention or put his body in danger. Then, point the tip of the wand to the heart, recite the spell Amato, Animato, Animagus, and drink the potion. The complexity of Animagus's transformation is extremely rare among many magics. However, such magic is the foundation of the wizarding world for many years. I said before that magic transformation must absorb the magic of nature. In fact, almost all truly advanced magic involves this step. Animagus is a lower-level substitute for magic transformation. In Ivan's view, Animagus is more like an accumulation for magic transformation. When you become an Animagus and have a certain amount of experience in magic fusion, the danger of the following magic transformation will naturally be reduced. I remember, Penelope put the mandrake in her mouth and pressed it down. The most troublesome step in practicing Animagus. In the next month, the senior sister will be very uncomfortable. There is no way. If you want to gain powerful strength, you must endure hardships. Without talent and unable to cheat, you can only rely on your own efforts. Fortunately, Penelope met Ivan, a wall hanger. With Ivan's help, the senior sister finally saw hope. The opportunity is hard-won. Penelope decided to seize it tightly. I can do it. I can definitely do it. Suddenly, Ivan realized a problem. That is, how should the senior sister give him advice if he has a mandrake in his mouth? Miscalculated. Seeing Ivan's distress, Penelope couldn't help but smile. Although this junior brother of hers is extraordinary, he occasionally makes some small mistakes. Penelope doesn't think there is anything wrong with this, but is very satisfied. It was precisely because of these behaviors that the senior thought were very cute that she clearly understood that Sway Fan was not a prophet without emotions. He was a real person just like herself. I can communicate with you using an automatic feather pen. Penelope took out a notebook and an automatic feather pen from her suitcase. Two objects floated in the air beside the senior sister, and the feather pen started to work. You can tell that it has been practiced. Ivan remembered the beetle reporter in the original book, who was good at it. But now it seems that this is the standard equipment of every magic reporter. I have considered working in a newspaper after graduation, so I learned the automatic feather pen accompanying magic in advance. The feather pen wrote automatically, and Penelope followed Ivan because he provided decoration suggestions. As a witch from the wizarding world, Penelope knew how to use magic to transform furniture and houses. In this way, the two worked together until the evening. Ivan did not cook again this time, but gave the opportunity to Penelope. The senior sister was very confident in her cooking skills and said that she would help her mother, who worked outside, to prepare food since she was very young. So, they had a clear division of labor. Ivan prepared the ingredients, and Penelope performed life magic to make the dining car, salt, and food dance. It must be said that the senior sister is more skilled in using life-related spells than Ivan. It can be seen that powerful magic does not necessarily mean skilled magic. When Ivan and a wizard can successfully cast the spell, the one with higher proficiency will obviously perform better. In this regard, even Ivan can't take advantage. You can only practice diligently on weekdays to improve your proficiency. After dinner, Ivan asked Penelope to find a room in the villa. The senior sister carefully considered and finally chose the room next to Ivan's room. Will it not disturb the junior brother? Of course not. That's good. Penelope smiled slyly, and she joked. First come, first served. Let Hermione go on a trip. When she thought of Hermione's expression when she came back and saw that her house was robbed, the senior sister inexplicably looked forward to it. I hope she can be calm by then. Ivan doesn't care. But thinking about Hermione's temper, she might have a real confrontation with Penelope. Fortunately, there is another room next to Ivan. If nothing unexpected happens, Hermione will definitely choose it. Good night, senior sister. Ivan said, starting tomorrow, I will take you to visit the world of Muggles and see what the life of the top Muggles is like. Being Ivan's secretary, I know. Ahem. Ivan, call me boss when the time comes. Okay, boss. Penelope's looks are really good. The Hogwarts school bell is no joke. Just like that, Zookie and Ivan started their new life outside of school. The next day, Ivan transformed himself into a young man, and Penelope also dressed up carefully, trying to make herself look more mature. Western women develop quickly, and with the help of cosmetics, even Ivan almost didn't recognize the senior. There's no way, it's too stunning. Even a little boy like Ivan was attracted by her charm. No, to be precise, Penelope is exactly the type that those young boys who are just beginning to fall in love like the most. In a word, a group of people. By the way, Ivan took out his wand and cast a spell on Penelope. Dell! Penelope was confused. She didn't know what Ivan was doing. This is the new spell I designed last night. Ivan smiled and said, Senior, didn't you notice any changes? Changes? Penelope was stunned at first, and then she felt the original stagnation in her mouth disappear. Leaves! Leaves of mandrake. Penelope looked at Ivan gratefully, knowing that her junior had developed this spell for her to reduce the pain of the first step of a Nimigus transformation. Thank you. You're welcome. Ivan, I'm the big boss in the Muggle world. How can the secretary around me be so unclear? The girl smiled but said nothing. Penelope felt Ivan's gentleness and thoughtfulness for the first time, silently, but always able to warm their hearts in some details. Let's go. Duh. Without thinking any more, Penelope quickly followed Ivan's footsteps. Chapter 94. First meeting with the crazy girl. The senior's job is not complicated. Most of it is memorizing, preparing materials, and notifying Ivan what to do and when to do it. Ivan plans to bet all his assets on the ruble during the Christmas holiday. As for the result, Ivan's plan was very successful. There was almost no obstacle in the whole process. After all, Ivan has been preparing for this day for several years. The plan is so cautious that it is not an exaggeration to say that it is flawless. How much money is this? The night before returning to school, Penelope looked at the string of numbers in Ivan's account and was stunned. As long as you don't do anything stupid, you can't spend it all in this lifetime. Ivan said it lightly. But the senior sister, who had lived a poor life since childhood, still couldn't believe that Ivan could so easily acquire such a huge wealth. Fortunately, Penelope is not a greedy person. The senior sister has a positive view of money. She needs money, but she will not pursue wealth excessively. In Penelope's view, family is the most important. Money, material possessions, as long as they are enough for living. Of course, if they can live a better life, Penelope will not refuse it like 107. Here, this is your salary, senior sister. Ivan took out a check and said, I opened an account for you in a London bank, and you can use the money at any time. This is too much. Penelope took the check and glanced at it, and was instantly shocked by the number on it. In this era, when the per capita income is only a few thousand, Ivan paid the senior sister £100,000. It's not that Ivan is unwilling to give more, but it's meaningless. Penelope is a witch, and the roll of pounds for her is limited to daily necessities, food, etc. These things at most are only a few £1,000s, and they don't cost much at all. Is it a lot? Ivan smiled and said, I think it's a little less. After all, compared with the money earned these days, £100,000 is not even a fraction of a fraction. Ivan shook the account book in his hand, a thick stack. The turnover of just one day can reach tens of billions of pounds, and you can see how terrifying the profit is. No, I can't accept it. Penelope insisted on her own. She returned the check to Ivan. I didn't do anything at all. I didn't do anything except staying with you these days. On the contrary, these days of life have taught me a lot of new knowledge about the Muggle world. According to Penelope's meaning, she should not only not take the money, but should pay Ivan tuition. I never knew that the lives of Muggles would be so colorful. Ivan, you are right. Compared with Muggles, the wizarding world has really been lagging behind for too long. Penelope firmly returned the check to Ivan. The latter seemed to have guessed that she would do this, so he stuffed a bank card into the hands of the senior sister. What is this? Bank card. Penelope has seen this thing too many times in the past 2 days. A special credit card. Ivan said, Don't refuse. This is a benefit for formal members of the organization. Everyone has it. Really? Penelope, how much is in it? There is no specific number. You can use it to pay when you want to spend money in the Muggle world. Ivan's credit cards have very high limits, and the one he gave to Penelope has a spending limit of £1 billion. It is no exaggeration to say that as long as Penelope does not buy a commercial building, Ivan can help her pay for it. Penelope hesitated for a moment and finally accepted it. The reason for doing so is that Ivan said that the credit card belongs to the organization's welfare, not hers alone. In addition, Penelope is very confident in herself. She feels that as long as she maintains her daily spending limit, the so-called limit will have no meaning. Penelope is thrifty and frugal, and she is not in vain. You're still too young. Ivan looked at the back of the senior sister leaving, with a slight smile on his face. Penelope will not spend money lavishly, but for some daily cosmetics, clothes, etc., as long as Ivan recommends them, the girl will definitely not be able to resist the temptation. There is no woman in this world who does not love beauty. Penelope is no exception. Of course, even so, the senior sister actually doesn't spend much money. As I said, Ivan will provide everything his companions need so that they can feel the beauty of life while following him. It's just that she's a little too easy to satisfy. Ivan can see part of Penelope's future. Whether it's the senior sister or Hermione, it's really easy to support her. Fortunately, I have other preparations. Designed a magical transformation for Penelope because the senior has a strong heart. Hermione is somewhat resistant to violence. The little witch pursues order and justice, and the path of becoming the Minister of Magic can perfectly meet Hermione's needs. What should we do if the children are too sensible? This is the trouble of happiness. Ivan couldn't help but smile bitterly. He shook his head and put this idea behind him. Forget it, take a rest. We have to catch the train tomorrow. Ivan was about to return to school, and he missed the time of studying with his friends. Soon, the room fell into darkness. Ivan's sleep quality has always been good, and today is no exception. However, the situation tonight seems a little unusual. Ivan didn't know what happened. He just felt that his consciousness became lighter and lighter, as if it had been separated from his body. Then, Ivan felt that he had been floating forward for a long time. In an instant, his consciousness became clear. If he hadn't found the danger in his subconscious, Ivan would have immediately activated the brain closure technique and woke up from his sleep. Forget it. Ivan, let me see what happens next. Soon, when his vision became clear again, Ivan found himself in a garden covered by misty fog. When, stepping on the ground, the touch of grass and soil was so real. The breeze brought the morning dew, making Ivan feel cool. Where is this place? Why did I come here? Was I brought here by someone, or did I come in by myself? Ivan looked around and tried to sense his magic power. He found that both Mo Ran and Shun Huang were quietly staying in his body. This means that in this place, Ivan can still use magic. It's okay. Thinking of this, Ivan heaved a sigh of relief. As long as he can still use magic, Ivan is not afraid of anyone. Sha. Ivan did not stay where he was, but chose a direction and went straight forward. Soon, Ivan's keen perception detected a breath. Is there anyone else here? Because of the existence of fog, the visibility of the magic eye is not high. These fogs are special substances composed purely of magic power. The magic eye sees them as fog. The only difference is that the color has changed. And now, in Ivan's sight, a petite figure has appeared in the fog. The other party exudes a magical aura different from the fog. It looks like a child. Ivan did not relax his vigilance just because the other party was a child. After all, there are many scary things in the shape of children in horror movies. Who is there? Come out. Holding the wand tightly, Ivan cast a protective spell on himself while staring at the figure. He chose to take the initiative and scare the person in front of him. If the other party had any aggressive moves, he would counterattack immediately. However, the other party's situation seemed different from what Ivan expected. 3.3 There was no fear, and even the expected briefing was not seen. The figure in the mist seemed very surprised to meet Ivan, and even his steps were much lighter. Hello, sir. Are you also looking for the Snorlax? I think it's nearby, and I will definitely find it this time. This is a young female voice, sounding about 10 years old. Her voice is very ethereal, making Ivan almost think that he has met the legendary fairy, the elf. As the two approached, the fog that blocked Ivan's sight gradually dissipated, revealing the appearance of the person coming. The girl has a pair of bright silver eyes, dark golden hair draped behind her. She is wearing a thin white pajamas, barefoot, as if she came here directly from her sleep looking at the girl's appearance. Plus the curved horn snorkel she just mentioned. Ivan's mind immediately popped up a name, Luna Lovegood. Chapter 95. Luna's friends in her dreams. The girl was surprised to see Ivan just standing there. She was not as cautious as Ivan, but moved closer to him as if she was attracted by something and wanted to get close to the boy in front of her. Hello, I'm Luna. Luna's eyes were not as described in the original book, but crystal clear and watery, very beautiful. Ivan, your name is Luna. Luna from the Lovegood family? Do you know me? Luna seemed to be very surprised why she had such a dream today. A strange boy who knew her. I don't know, but I know you. Ivan did not lie. He told the girl his identity. I am a freshman at Hogwarts, Ivan Ambrosius. That's great. Luna smiled and said, I will go to Hogwarts next year. My mother said it is the best magic school in the world. She is right. It is the responsibility of every Hogwarts student to maintain their alma mater, and Ivan is no exception. The conversation between the two was very simple, but Lou was very happy. The little girl lived alone on a remote and barren hillside, with only her father and an owl that was almost too old to fly at home. The death of her mother was a great blow to Luna. Fortunately, she knew how to enlighten herself. It would be great if you were real. Suddenly, Luna said this, but I know that when I wake up from my sleep, you will disappear. Dell, Ivan understood that the little girl really regarded all this as a dream. No. Ivan smiled and patted Luna's head. As long as you want, you can come here to find me every night. Really, Luna has no friends, so she cares about her friends. In the original book, Luna, who was in the 4th grade, was even willing to take risks to sneak into the Ministry of Magic and fight the Death Eaters for Harry and others. The pure-minded ethereal fairy also has something she desires. Of course. Thank you. Luna was very happy. She grabbed Ivan's hand. Come with me. Having made a new friend, Luna couldn't help but want to share with him the beautiful scenery she discovered 27. Where is this? Guard. Luna tilted her head, a smile on her face, and her tone was faintly filled with the joy of sharing with others. There are many interesting things here. Interesting things? Ivan raised his head and found that the surroundings were getting brighter and brighter, as if the sun was rising and dispelling the fog. It was also at this time that Ivan really saw the world clearly. Gorgeous colors filled every inch of space within sight, and everything around him was in the light like spilled paint, dazzling. Ivan, look. Luna squatted down and then grabbed a fluffy little guy from somewhere. The strange creature was very small, about the size of a ping-pong ball, with a grayish-white face, like a ball of dandelion that had become a spirit. The little guy stared at Ivan with his 2 cute little eyes, and seemed to be very curious about the strange creature in front of him. What is this? Ivan thought this furball looked like Puffy, but he knew it was not. Bub. What? Ivan was a little confused. Luna used English, and Ivan had never heard of the word Rombois. I have always called them that, and they like this name very much. Sure enough, just as Ivan thought, this was a term invented by Luna herself. Bub. The sun shone down, and the little guy's face relaxed, and he made a satisfied cry. Obviously, this is the basis for Luna to name this creature. It is reasonable to name it according to the cry. Murla. Aku aku. Soon, all kinds of little guys jumped out from the grass and flowers. They are very small, like plants and animals, and each of them has a very weak magic fluctuation. These guys are very weak, and they can kill a group of them with a slap. Well, it's a bit like ants and other insects in this world, playing the role of the lowest level of the ecosystem. Suddenly, Ivan, who was watching Luna and the little creatures playing happily, suddenly noticed something. He raised his head and saw a huge, sun-wiped figure slowly floating through the sky covered with rainbow light. What is that? Ivan looked closely and found that it was a huge light brown monster. It had a head for body segments and 4 pairs of legs extending from the body with claws, suckers, or toes at the end. The monster looked like an insect or an animal and was sliding its 8 legs and swimming slowly in the sky. Water bear. Ivan had seen similar creatures in his previous life. A kind of outrageous microorganism that would not die unless the sun exploded, with the most terrifying vitality of all creatures. Ah, that's the water bear. Following Ivan's gaze, Luna seemed to be used to it. Don't worry, although they are big, they are actually very good-tempered and won't hurt us. The moment Ivan saw the tardigrade, which is the water bear in Luna's mouth, he basically determined where he was. He came to the microscopic world that the spiritual vision had seen before. A special dimension that is different from reality, but actually exists in the material world. However, Ivan felt that he did not come here physically after becoming smaller, but relied on the powerful soul power to pass through a certain barrier and descend with consciousness. Maybe Luna is right. This place could really be a dream? As soon as he thought of this, Ivan felt the changes in the magic around him again. It was just as he thought. This world, for him and Luna, was between illusion and reality. To describe it in one word, it was like a dream. In addition, in this dream, no matter what kind of harm or danger the two suffered, they would eventually wake up in reality. It was like it was not a human soul that came here, but a little spirituality. Ivan didn't know how to describe the relationship between the two. He only knew that he could leave at any time and return to the real world. Ivan, don't you like it here? What? Ivan saw Luna looking at him and said quickly, No, I think it's beautiful here. Really? Luna blinked. But it's so strange. There are no harassment flies around you. But Ivan, you are still worried. Luna's words were pointed, but she sighed sincerely. It seems that harassment flies are not the cause of all troubles. Are you saying that my mind is too complicated? Ivan knew what Luna wanted to say. The little girl was different from him. He came here, belonging to the soul attribute standard, with the spirit as the medium, and truly let the consciousness descend into the microscopic world. As for Luna, the little girl may feel that she is dreaming. In a dream, she was walking in the wonderful garden and saw a boy named Ivan in the mist, and then shared the joy of the dream with him. Relaxed, leisurely, and carefree. This is Luna's state of mind at this time. So, seeing that Ivan did not appreciate the surrounding scenery, but was confused, she felt it was a pity. This place is so interesting. Why doesn't Ivan take a look? You are right. Ivan subconsciously touched the girl's hair, which felt very good and very smooth, not as messy as described in the novel. Luna did not resist, but stood quietly. The girl was like a pure and innocent little deer, cute and well-behaved. Can you take me for a walk, little Luna? Ivan stretched out his hand, and the girl took it with a smile. So, the two of them held hands and began to walk freely in this wonderful garden. At this time, if someone looked down from a high altitude, they would see that the so-called garden was actually an island floating in the vast space. And there are countless such islands in this world, big and small. All kinds of life playing and playing, forming a bizarre scene that is difficult to see in the human world. Chirp, chirp, the sun shines through the window, and Ivan wakes up from his sleep. He remembers what happened before. He and Luna played with various microscopic creatures in the garden. The elf-like girl, just a short contact, made Ivan feel a kind of peace that purified his soul. Unknowingly, the two played in the dream for a long time, until Luna's figure suddenly disappeared in front of him. Ivan was a little panicked at first, worried that something happened to Luna. But soon, Ivan reacted. The reason why Luna disappeared was because she had woken up, unlike Ivan, who had enough soul power and would not be forcibly repatriated. Luna really broke into that world accidentally in her sleep. What a pity. The powerful soul allows Ivan to enter the dream dimension anytime and anywhere. Even now, as long as Ivan closes his eyes and empties his mind, he can appear in the original place again. New ability? Ivan has a feeling that as he enters the dream dimension more and more times, his connection with it will become closer and closer. This is not a bad thing, but it is of great help to Ivan. The dream dimension is just Ivan's name. In essence, it is still part of the material world. There's a door called the Planet Hall in the Department of Mysteries, and the planets are celestial bodies in the universe. Based on the magic knowledge learned so far, wizards know the concept of the universe, and even began to study the relationship between the starry sky and magic thousands of years ago. To some extent, the civilization of wizards is far more advanced than that of muggles. Unfortunately, due to the introduction of the confidentiality law, the wizard society has come to a standstill. Many once great explorations and discoveries have been shelved and are no longer as glorious as they once were. What about the microscopic world? Since Luna can enter that world, there must be other people who have done similar things before me and her. What do those wizards call it? If the universe is the embodiment of the big in the macroscopic, then the dream dimension is the opposite of big, the opposite side of the universe. The mustard seed contains the sumeru, the grand, and the tiny. All are worlds. All have living beings and their kings. According to this calculation, the wizard's worldview is indeed extraordinary. How many such gardens are there in the dream dimension? And whether there are magical lives different from the earth in the universe. Of course, these things are not what Ivan can know now. Knowing too much is not a good thing. Ivan is self-aware, so he quickly suppressed his complicated thoughts and recalled more of the pleasant time he spent with Luna. Luna, what an incredible girl. For some reason, Ivan envied Luna's mentality. Perhaps only with Luna's mentality can one appreciate the mystery of the dream dimension without being confused. My soul attribute is obviously higher, but I am not as comfortable as Luna. Ivan likes Luna very much. Being with her always makes him happy and relaxed. It's a pity that the two can only meet in dreams. And with Luna's soul attribute, She can't control the entry and exit freely. What a pity. Ivan really wants to study the dream dimension and create magic with microscopic content. However, human energy is limited. Ivan also needs to study blood return, magic transformation, and many other topics. The dream dimension is indeed magical, but it doesn't mean it is stronger than other fields. Compared with concepts such as death and time, magic at the microscopic level is not a little bit worse. Speaking of which, has Luna in the original book also entered the dream dimension? Ivan was not sure. I remember that Luna's mother was called Pandora, and she seemed to be a witch with extraordinary talent. Ivan did not know whether the crazy girl in the original book had entered the dream dimension. But even if Luna really had a similar experience, she would probably regard it as a dream. And for Luna, this kind of thing is still an adventure that she will experience occasionally. At least 4 soul points are required to enter and exit freely, and I have a soul attribute of 5 points. Ivan, with strong enough magic, the rules of force are touched. Ivan feels that Luna's soul attribute should be very close to 4 points, but it has not reached this point yet. Therefore, the so-called harassment flies, nymph hooks, curved-horn snorkelers, etc. of the little girl are all regarded as fictional fantasy creatures. Luna believes that these creatures exist. Perhaps it is because she has seen them in her dreams. Add to that the frequent playing with them, and no one else will believe that they are their own imagination. If it is a fantasy, why is it so clear? But in the material world, Luna can't find a friend to play with her, so she is ridiculed by others. Let's take a look at Luna's future. Ivan looked at the full-length mirror on the wardrobe standing beside him, and then a thought came to his mind, and all kinds of pictures emerged in his mind. Soon, Ivan ended his prediction for Luna. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and it was obvious that he got a very good result. Chapter 96, Transfiguration and Maya. In 8 months, Luna will enter Hogwarts. Before that, we have to prepare her growth path. Luna's training direction is very clear, which is to continuously develop soul attributes so that she can gain power from the dream dimension. Ivan has limited time, and there are only a few wizards with such talent as Luna in the world. Such a good talent, Ivan can't let it go to waste. It must be developed well. Get up and wash up. When Ivan came to the lobby on the first floor, he found that Penelope had already prepared breakfast. Bacon, eggs, toast, plus a glass of milk. After breakfast, the two packed up their gifts. Ivan made a seamless telescopic bag for Penelope, which contained many of the Muggle items that Swayfan has transformed in the past half-month. Traceless stretch bags, Muggle item transformation, both violate the laws of the Ministry of Magic. However, the two of them no longer care about these. Ivan is strong enough, and learning is accustomed to it. It's all done. What are you worried about? Penelope has never been a person who worries about nothing. After this period of contact, Ivan has a clearer understanding of his senior sister. The girl is cold on the outside, but warm on the inside. On the surface, she seems to be cold, but in fact, she takes special care of Ivan, a junior who is 4 years younger, and has the demeanor of an older sister. Let's go. Ivan stretched out his hand, and the girl quickly grabbed it. Snap! The next moment, with a crisp sound, the figures of the two disappeared in the manor. Ivan, Senior Penelope, at the station entrance. The two heard the little witches shout as soon as they arrived. Hermione! Penelope whispered to Hermione, and Ivan went forward to talk to Mr. Granger. Mr. Granger was still the same, asking Ivan to take care of Hermione, which made the little witch very dissatisfied. There was no way the old father could only drive away awkwardly, secretly thinking that the girl should not be kept. When her father left, Hermione immediately ran to Ivan and chattered about her experience during her trip to Denmark. Denmark has always been known as the kingdom of fairy tales and is a tourist destination in Europe. There are many legends about magic and witches here. However, Hermione herself is a witch. Looking at it from the perspective of magic, Hermione found that the magical world in the cognition of Muggles is full of loopholes. They think witches are ugly old women. Hermione, and in almost all stories, they are villains. This is all prejudice. Witches are not witches with tumors, and they will not poison princesses with poisoned apples. What about you? Hermione asked the two what they did on Christmas. Ivan showed me the lives of muggles. Penelope, it was really exciting. Originally, Hermione was going to continue chatting with Penelope, but unfortunately the senior was the prefect of Ravenclaw. On the trains returning to and leaving school, the prefects have their own carriages and tasks. They need to patrol the trains and take care of the juniors who are in trouble. Ivan, Parvati, and Padma pushed their suitcases across platform 9 3/4. Seeing this, Hermione quickly took out her magic materials to help them carry their luggage. How was your Christmas vacation? Very good. Hermione, I went to Denmark. How about you? We went back to India. Speaking of this, Parvati's tone changed and she began to complain. Believe me, it was definitely not a pleasant experience. Well, it was really terrible. The parents of the two sisters are wizards from India. However, the customs in India are completely different from those in England, and there's considerable discrimination against women there. Even women are no exception to this. The elders at home are too strict, and they have to say a few words about everything. It seems that if we don't find faults, we will be embarrassed outside. Padma is better. As a younger sister, she is more submissive. But her elder sister Parvati will not bear this humiliation, especially when learning magic with Ivan. Parvati has broadened her horizons and knows how terrifying powerful wizards can be. In Parvati's opinion, the Indian wizards in her hometown are not even comparable to Ivan's fingers. In the carriage, the four people sat down according to the positions when they went home. Ivan said embarrassedly, "You didn't really say this? This is too hateful." How could it be? Parvati quickly covered her mouth and laughed. I just thought about it. That's good. Ivan was really afraid that Parvati would brag about it in her hometown in India. He wasn't afraid. But this kind of behavior of provoking others for no reason was too stupid. Fortunately, Parvati and Padma were not the kind of people who liked to show off like Ronald. They just secretly compared the Indian wizard with Ivan in their hearts, and finally concluded that Ivan was awesome. By the way, what is the magic in India like? After coming to this world, Ivan came into contact with magic from many countries. In the magic world, magic from different regions has obvious cultural differences. As far as Ivan knows, African wizards are not used to using wands. They use fingers and gestures to cast spells. In addition, African wizards can transform into animals, and more than one kind. This is amazing. After all, Animagus can only transform into one kind of animal, but African wizards can transform into multiple animals. Ivan once asked Dumbledore how the African wizards did it. The explanation given by Dumbledore was that Africa is the region with the largest number of magical creatures in the world. The wizards there have lived with them since ancient times, which makes their physique different from that of ordinary people. In Ivan's words, the magic calendar of the ancient masters still exists in the blood of the purpose. What they call multiple animal transformations is more like a group blood magic. The same skills, wizards in other regions can never learn their set. Indian magic, Parvati thought for a while and said, most of them are similar to the magic taught by Hogwarts professors. The only difference should be Dharma and Maya. What is that? Hermione had never heard of these two words. Parvati smiled and said, this is my translation. It's not called that. In addition, there is no magic school in India. There are 11 magic schools in the world, but only the Magic Institute, also known as Magic Takuro, in Minami Uojima, Japan, is located in Asia. There is no magic school in India, so the inheritance of magic there is completely different from ours. India mostly uses a teaching model of one teacher leading a group of students to pass on magic. That's why Hermione doesn't know about Maya and Dharma. Don't they write magic in books? No. Parvati's words were like a basin of cold water, making Hermione's hands and feet cold and unbelievable. Wouldn't it be easy to lose it? Ivan also expressed his own opinion, but Parvati's answer was they would rather lose it than give their research to outsiders. A teacher brings out a group of students, forming an organizational structure similar to a sect. This makes the wizarding society in India very chaotic, and conflicts often break out between them. It is no exaggeration to say that the Indian Ministry of Magic is the most troublesome one among all the magic ministries in the world for the wizards under its jurisdiction. In addition, the name for wizards in India is ascetics. Parvati didn't know how to describe it, but fortunately Ivan could understand. Each country has its own characteristics, just like the East calls the city of Ci over their immortals. Yes, the wizards in the East are not called wizards, nor are they Taoist priests or Qigong practitioners, but immortals. Although in modern times, Eastern wizards feel embarrassed about this title. But there is no way the ancient Orientals called Lu Pei who mastered magic in this way. In their view, turning stones into gold, calling the wind and rain, being invulnerable to water and fire, mustard seed, sumeru, driving away gods and ghosts. These are all immortal means without exception. And those who possess these powers are naturally no different from living immortals in the eyes of ordinary people. This is also the fact. If a strong man like Ivan were placed in the West thousands of years ago, it would not be an exaggeration to call him a god. After all, even Hagrid can raise a three-headed dog, right? Dharma and Maya are unique magic systems in India. Dharma is divided into blessing and curse. The relationship between the two is a bit like the white magic and black magic here. Parvati had never learned these two kinds of magic. Her grandfather was extremely patriarchal, and it was impossible for him to teach the magic he had passed down to the two sisters. What is Maya? It's a bit like the transfiguration we have here. After Parvati finished speaking, her sister Padma shook her head. It's different. Everything Maya transforms into is fake. It's a trick. What do you mean? Seeing that the two sisters disagreed, Ivan hurriedly asked in detail. Soon, Ivan figured out what Maya was. Simply put, it's an illusion. It can affect the perception of all things through deception and confusion, using the caster's cognition to cover what others see and hear. Padma said Maya is a sleight of hand because Maya only looks like it, but it is not actually. For example, turning wine into water. Transfiguration really turns wine into water. But Maya only uses the clarity and tastelessness of water to cover the wine. In essence, wine is still wine, but other people are deceived by the eyes, ears, mouth, and nose, and mistakenly think it is water. Listening to the dispute between the two sisters, Ivan also fell into thinking. Use water to cover the feeling that wine should bring to people, creating the illusion that it is not wine, but water. Ivan can find the disadvantages of this method almost instantly. That is to make people drink the wine that Maya has transformed into water. If you get drunk, it is wine. But can transfiguration avoid this flaw? Professor McGonagall said that when cognition changes, the effect of transfiguration will end. So what about the Maya that Indian wizards call? It is more inclined to strengthen a certain cognition, thereby deepening the authenticity of the illusion. Transfiguration and Maya are like the same thing, observed from different angles. Thinking of this, Ivan asked, then what level can Maya reach after practicing to the limit? Well, Parvati said, primary Maya deceives the external five senses, Wang Ma Zhao, and the more advanced Maya can deceive the essence of perception. This was said by Parvati's mother, and it seems to be the understanding of an old wizard who is very important in India. Deceiving the essence of the senses. Ivan seemed to understand a little. The essence of taste is the feedback of the cells on the tongue after being stimulated. Primary Maya acts on a person's external performance, that is, basic judgment. But the truly advanced Maya can deceive the perception of living organisms at the cellular level. For example, the sun-loving nature of plants. If Maya is used to create sunlight, if this sunlight can deceive plants and make them start to grow towards the sun, this will reach the higher level of Maya that Parvati said. And the most powerful Maya only exists in legends. The reason why Parvati thinks Maya is a profound magic comparable to transfiguration is because of this legend. If one day Maya can deceive everything, then its truth and falsehood will be meaningless. In short, advanced Maya deceives plants to grow towards the sun, but the plants themselves do not complete photosynthesis. And the top-level Maya can make plants hallucinate, thinking that they have obtained the catalyst of sunlight and start to produce oxygen and transport nutrients. Then can you say that the sunlight transformed by Maya is fake? It looks real. The animal said, I think it is sunlight. The plant said, I think so too. Even chlorophyll was deceived by Maya's illusion of sunlight and began to operate automatically. If we continue to dig deeper, when the atoms and molecules complete their original cycle and interaction due to Maya's deception, is there a big difference between true and false? Chapter 97. The road ahead is long. Don't go too far, the world is so big. The 5 virtues in the East, the animal transformation in Africa, and the Dharma Maya in India. Compared to the tip of the iceberg mentioned in movies and novels, the real magic world is far more vast than Ivan imagined. The magic in this world may not have the power to move mountains and fill the sea, but if you think about it carefully, you will find the great horror in it. It is really terrifying to think about it carefully. If you have a chance in the future, you can go back and have a look. Ivan will not say how Maya is better than transformation, nor does he think that the 5 virtues are more powerful than the magic incarnation. Whether it is a spell or magic, they are just external things. The real power is Lu Shi himself. Yes, it is the point-adding system and the attributes that are strong. This is the foundation of Ivan's foothold in the magic world. In this way, the journey back to school is particularly peaceful. If you have to say what is different, it is probably that Yumi no longer needs to enter the cage, but follows Ivan in an invisible state. 1 person and 1 pet got off the train. They did not go through the Black Forest again, but took the night thestral and took another road. Ivan, Hermione, and Parvati were sitting in a carriage. The 3 girls seemed to be very interested in the carriage without horses. Is it because the carriage was enchanted? Ivan shook his head and said, there is something pulling in front of the carriage. That is the thestrals. Thestrals? The girls naturally believed Ivan, but they were all a little curious about the thestrals. So, under Ivan's guidance, the girls reached forward one after another, and they really touched something invisible, dragging the carriage forward. Thestrals are a kind of Pegasus with a tall and rugged body, a black body, a dragon head and a horse body, and a pair of broad wings on its back. It can fly at high speed in the air. Only people who have experienced death can see it. Experienced death? Hearing this, the girls withdrew their hands as if they had been electrocuted, as if they had touched something ominous. Don't be so scared. Ivan smiled and said, it's just a rumor that the thestrals are unlucky. They're just ordinary magical animals. As for the so-called experience of death, it's true. Ivan gave the 3 girls some popular science. Death here is not seeing dead people or someone killing in front of you, but understanding death. In simple terms, it means that someone close and important has passed away, which makes people sad. Ivan, feeling the passing of life, and thus understand the meaning of death. Only such people can see the thestrals. So, being able to see the thestrals is not a good thing, because it just proves that you have lost 310 important people, which is a manifestation of inner pain. Ivan, can you see it? I can't see it either. Unlike the protagonists in other novels, Ivan can't see the thestrals with his naked eyes. He did defeat Voldemort, which is also a disguised way of killing him. But killing his enemies does not make Ivan feel sad. However, Ivan has a magic eye. All phenomena and states of the non-material level cannot escape the insight of these eyes. In Ivan's opinion, the thestrals were wrapped in black mist, and it was this invisible force that concealed their forms. Death. Ivan was sure that this was the magic of death. No wonder wizards are reluctant to approach the thestrals. Although it is very weak, the magic of death does give people a very bad feeling. Soon, as Ivan told them, the returning wizards once again stepped into the Hogwarts castle. After a day's journey, the students were already hungry. Dumbledore was good in this respect. He never made long speeches. He just said, eat, and announced the start of the banquet. This is a good tradition. Ivan felt that if he became a principal in the future, he would definitely imitate Dumbledore's conciseness. After the dinner, the students returned to their own dormitories. Ivan did not follow Hermione and the others. Percy saw it, but did not say anything, and let him move freely. At Hogwarts, the name of Ambrosius is basically equivalent to privilege. In this way, Ivan walked through the professors and followed Dumbledore. McGonagall and Flitwick saw this scene, but they were not surprised. Only Snape snorted in dissatisfaction, obviously unhappy with the arrogant attitude of a certain little wizard. He really doesn't take the school rules seriously. It's so blatant. Professor, I heard that Ambrosius often wanders at night. A Slytherin student complained in dissatisfaction, but what he received was Snape's death stare. The student was stunned by Snape's eyes. It's okay. I'm sorry, Professor. Go back. Doesn't Snape know that Ivan often wanders at night? But so what? What is the purpose of not allowing night wandering? I hope that students can go to bed early and get up early, so that they can be more energetic to study the next day. In addition, Hogwarts in the dark may be dangerous, and the little wizards should not wander around in the dark night. However, all the senior wizards studying in Hogwarts know it. There is no student who has never wandered at night. Wandering at night is a part of life in Hogwarts. Even the deans only warn verbally. In fact, as long as they're not caught directly, it is not considered a violation of school rules. As for being caught, in the whole Hogwarts, Filch is the only one patrolling at night, and he is a damn squib. If he can be caught. Sorry, the deans of each house can't afford to lose this person. Has that kid become stronger again? Snape felt a lot of pressure from Ivan, just like facing the former Dark Lord. But how is this possible? Ivan is only 11 years old, and will be 12 after the Chinese New Year. He is just a first-year student. Snape was shocked that he could defeat him. On par with the Dark Lord, Snape was amused by his own thoughts. As for saying that Ivan defeated Quirrell, who was possessed by the Dark Lord, Snape thought it was nonsense. That was the Dark Lord. No matter how talented Ivan was, he could not defeat an opponent like Voldemort at this age. Only a fool would believe Harry's nonsense. Would you like something sweet? In the principal's office, Ivan sat in his old seat naturally. Dumbledore smiled and opened the jar full of cockroaches. No need. Before, because of Dumbledore's strong recommendation, Ivan ate a cockroach out of curiosity. How to say it? This is not a real cockroach, but made of chocolate and syrup. It's just that feeling of struggling in the mouth. Even though Ivan was prepared, he almost vomited it. Dumbledore doesn't have many hobbies, but this is his favorite. Ivan couldn't understand it. What's more embarrassing is that since Ivan ate the cockroach candy, Dumbledore seemed to have found a like-minded person and recommended this to him every time. Ivan felt that this old guy was definitely doing it on purpose. That's a pity. Crack, crack. Dumbledore chewed the candy cockroach and felt the juice splashing in his mouth, showing an expression of great enjoyment. Ivan didn't know how to comment, so he could only change the subject abruptly. I want to ask you about the knowledge of microscopic and planetary aspects. Oh, this aspect. Old Dumbledore wiped his mouth and said, I remember there is content about this in the astronomy class. I heard from Aurora that you have learned it well. Aurora Sinistra, professor of astronomy at Hogwarts. Dumbledore is very concerned about Ivan. The old man really regards himself as Ivan's parent, so he often asks the professor about Ivan's learning progress. This is also to better teach Ivan. Otherwise, if the evening class conflicts with the teacher's daily content, it will be bad. Ivan did not have much resistance to the change in old Dumbledore's attitude. Is it difficult to accept a 110-year-old man as your elder? What's more, it's old Dumbledore's thighs. If you don't hug him, you'll be a fool. Of course, Ivan thinks that old Dumbledore takes care of him so much. It is probably not because the Phoenix bloodline of the Dumbledore family is not Grindelwald's. Yeah, that's right. This old guy probably thinks Ivan is the descendant of himself and Grindelwald. Beautiful. Dumbledore's thoughts are simple and beautiful. This life is perfect. I did learn a lot about astrology in astronomy class. Ivan, but what I want to ask is about macro and micro magic. Professor, you should understand what I mean. Checky. Dumbledore was really curious this time. Can I ask, Ivan, why do you pay attention to these? You need to know, Dumbledore. Even in the eyes of an old wizard like me, they are quite complex fields, and you must use large magic props to barely peek at the tip of the iceberg. Dumbledore did not lie. The soul power is not strong enough, and it is impossible to observe the microscopic world directly with the naked eye. As for the macroscopic universe, it is true that astronomical telescopes can see the starry sky. But what is inside other planets? Even a magic of wizards can't do anything about this. To put it bluntly, Muggles have gone through so much trouble to build rockets to explore Mars, and you wizards can see the scenery on Mars with a spell. It's so infuriating. I went to that world. Ivan told Dumbledore about the dream dimension. There's nothing to hide. Anyway, Ivan's talent is already amazing. If it is a little more abnormal, the old headmaster will be amazed at most. Amazing talent. However, this time, Dumbledore showed a solemn look. Ivan, your newly awakened blood magic is really incredible. The old headmaster knew that there was magic in the microscopic world. Although he had not studied this field specifically, he had also collected some ancient magic related to it. At least, when facing threats from the microscopic world, Dumbledore could take effective protective measures. The space we are in does not exist independently. Time divides it into the past, present, and future. There are different angles, which divide it into macroscopic and microscopic, objective and objective. Dumbledore, to be honest, I don't mind if you get in touch with these now, Ivan. They're too far away for you now. Distant, not practical. Dumbledore's answer was very straightforward. You have glimpsed the microscopic, but microscopic magic is of no use to you. At least now, it is useless. But if you just want to know what to write, old Dumbledore smiled. I may be able to answer your doubts. I understand. The old headmaster was warning him that manpower is limited and he should not fall in love with everyone he sees. There's only so much time, and there's only one person. You have to choose the right direction and don't be distracted. I have a question. Ivan said, the world I call the dream dimension is located in the microscopic space. But how can flowers and plants and light appear in such a small world? Recalling the scenery in the dream, Ivan couldn't imagine that there was a world where a grain of dust was magnified countless times. This was not reasonable at all. Isn't this question obvious? The old principle, because of magic. Magic, Ivan was stunned and then immediately reacted. You mean the magic in the microcosm built that world? With this thought, Ivan thought of another possibility. If magic creates a world in the microcosm, then is the planet they are in now, their world, also a microcosm in the eyes of a macrocosm? Even more extreme, the macrocosm may not be the macrocosm. Big and small are just divided by humans with their naked eyes and perception. But from an objective point of view, is the microscopic world really the product of the magnification of Ivan's world? It seems that you have discovered it. Dumbledore said, the microscopic world made of magic is like another time and space for us. So it won't happen that Ivan sees a microscopic world in front of him, and then he can crush it with one finger. This is impossible. Ivan cannot touch the microscopic world seen by his spiritual vision from reality. It can be observed but not touched because the two are indifferent out of control. Similarly, when Ivan's spirit enters the microscopic world, he can't do anything to the real world, and he can't directly enter the reality from the dream dimension. This is why I just said that I hope you don't go too deep. Macroscopic planets, microscopic vastness. These are the truths that ancient wizards have never explored in their entire lives. 12 doors, 2 ancient powers. Get any one of them, and wizards can rival God. It's a pity that Grindelwald and Dumbledore have been looking for the power of death for a lifetime, but ultimately failed to see the world behind the curtain of death. Magic, how wonderful. The old principle sighed. The world is a big proposition. We can't observe it from a single angle. Just like a single space, it seems single. However, space cannot exist alone. It also contains time, planets, emotions, life, death. Similarly, time-related magic will also involve space and matter. The complexity of the microscopic dream dimension perceived by Ivan is even more complex and huge than the large subjects such as transfiguration, alchemy, potions, and spells. If possible, Ivan, I hope you can postpone these things. At least before you learn the magic knowledge here, forget your troubles and be a happy little wizard. Dumbledore did not suppress Ivan. On the contrary, he was protecting Ivan. In the eyes of the old headmaster, with Ivan's talent and potential, there's almost no one in the world who is more powerful than him. Even if it is himself, when Ivan grows up, he can only admit defeat. So, humans cannot kill Ivan. Human weapons cannot reach Ivan either. Only those taboo knowledge, the deep world, and the terrifying will hidden in the unknown are what Dumbledore is worried about. The old man is afraid that Ivan will be deeply trapped in it and cannot extricate himself. Thank you, Professor. Ivan can feel the good intentions of the old headmaster, and he finds that he is indeed too persistent. As soon as he returns to Hogwarts, he immediately comes to Dumbledore. You are still a little wizard, Ivan. As the old headmaster said this, he pushed the jar with the cockroaches in front of Ivan. You should enjoy your time studying at Hogwarts now. Looking at the cockroaches crawling around, Ivan's mouth slightly twitched. I will enjoy it. But these... Ivan directly took the lid and sealed the cockroach pile. Excuse me for refusing. Chapter 98 Gringotts' treasure hunt life at Hogwarts returned to normal, and Ivan became the leader of the first grade again. Because Quirrell was dealt with in advance, Harry did not suspect Snape, and Hagrid did not get the dragon. This resulted in many of the original plots not happening. The benefits are obvious. Harry, Vigilant, and others spent a quiet 10 years. Of course, Harry might not feel very good, because Snape temporarily took over the professorship of the defense against the dark arts class. Snape is simply crazy. He deducted 20 points from me in one class. In the Gryffindor dormitory, Harry roared loudly. There is also the potions class. How many points will he deduct from me then? Calm down, Harry, Hermione advised. We won't blame you. Everyone knows that Snape is targeting Gryffindor. Yes, Parvati added. Besides, don't we still have Ivan and Hermione? They will earn back the points. Then he should at least find a better reason. Unlike the original book, Harry already knew the reason why Snape was targeting him. Snape has a grudge against his father. He still likes his mother. Good man. That guy can still hold a grudge against such a boring thing. And he even vents his anger on an 11-year-old wizard. Potter, how long are you going to hesitate? Gryffindor will lose 5 points. Potter, what's in your head? Gryffindor will lose 2 points. DF. Listen to his reason for losing points. Will he use which foot I entered the door first as an excuse next time? Harry used the words he heard from Ivan. Don't you even pretend? This is unreasonable. Snape, you're going too far. Harry now just wants Ivan to teach him a few powerful spells, and then take the wand to fight Snape. If Snape has the ability, he will fire him. You really can't beat him now, Harry. Ivan reluctantly rejected Harry's request. The gap in strength between the two sides was too big, and it was impossible to win, unless Ivan personally took action. But with Harry's personality, he would never ask his good friends to help him fight because of his troubles. Snape, I can't stand with you. Finally, Harry was completely deflated. He sat on the sofa dejectedly, with a look of despair on his face. Alas, poor child. Ivan couldn't comfort him, and didn't want to get involved. Well, instead of being angry with Snape, you might as well focus on Quidditch training. In Harry's first battle, he won against Slytherin, but later Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff. Cedric of Hufflepuff is very powerful. Harry, you have to be careful. Ivan also recently learned about this warrior who represented Hogwarts in the Goblet of Fire in the original book, a gentle, sunny, and cheerful boy. He is 3 years older than Ivan. However, because of their birthdays, Cedric is in the same grade as the Weasley twins and is now a third-year student. Ivan has no connections in Hufflepuff, so he has never met Cedric in person. The two have not had much interaction. But, based on the news from Hufflepuff from time to time, Ivan roughly analyzed Cedric's situation. He is a very pure, traditional wizard. The tradition here is not pure blood, but the kind of people who see the world only in the magic world and are a bit content with the status quo. If you say Ronald is the type who doesn't understand Muggles, but doesn't reject Muggle culture, then the Diggory family is the opposition. They're the vested interests under the current wizarding system. And as the influence of pure blood wizards becomes weaker and weaker, they're the new class that is about to rise. Introducing Muggle culture will cause a devastating blow to the lives of such people. They are not familiar with the lives of Muggles and are unwilling to understand. Take Ivan's previous life in Manchuria as an analogy. Pure-blood wizards are from aristocratic families, and officials in the Ministry of Magic are the current rulers. Diggory and his son belong to the literati class on the road to the imperial examination, and they're the type who can get a stable job as soon as they graduate. With the same grades, Cedric can rise to prominence in the Ministry of Magic, but Percy and Penelope are blocked everywhere and are hidden. Cedric, I heard, would say that. Harry finally turned his attention to Quidditch, and everyone breathed a sigh of relief, no longer having to listen to him scolding Snape. Although everyone knew it was Snape's fault. But who can blame him for doing it too many times? They thought that Harry should get used to it. Okay, let's go to bed early. Ivan saw that the time was almost up, so he announced the disbandment. Soon, everyone left the common room and returned to their dormitories to rest. Ivan was still the same, opening the door to the secret realm of the closet and starting his daily material collection journey. Neville watched Ivan disappear in the closet, and he was no longer surprised. In terms of relationship, Neville and Hermione can be regarded as Ivan's right-hand man. And then after Hermione, Neville also knew about the secret realm hidden in the closet. The two were roommates, and they saw each other every day. Ivan couldn't cast a sleeping spell on Neville every night. It was not good for the body to use that kind of spell too much. So Ivan found an opportunity and told Neville about the secret realm in the closet directly. He also told the boy that he would go there every night to collect resources. Originally, Ivan planned to invite Neville to join him, but Neville was not in good condition. Because of the forgetfulness spell when he was a child, Neville would be extremely tired every night. Staring at the three little ones at night, like in the original book, was definitely Neville's highlight moment. Meow. In the quiet dormitory, Mee's cry came from above. Yumi, aren't you with Ivan? Neville saw Yumi appearing from the air like smoke. He knew that this was Yumi's new ability, but he was still amazed. Meow. Yumi showed a human-like helpless expression. The little girl spread her hands, saying that she couldn't bear to be busy every night. After all, not everyone is like Ivan, who has a magical incarnation and only needs to sleep for a short time every day to be energetic. In Yumi's eyes, her master is no longer a human. He is just a tireless monster. In the secret realm, Ivan sneezed inexplicably. Who is saying bad things about me behind my back? At the thought of this, a spiritual premonition immediately emerged. Yumi, Ivan muttered, and secretly thought that he would reduce the dried fish for the cat by half tomorrow as a punishment for her bad words about the master. What should I order today? Ivan stood on the open grassland, surrounded by wooden houses of 1 or 2 floors. This is the secret village he built with magic, because it was surrounded by the ultimate protective magic barrier. Ivan did not set up protective measures, such as walls. I remember that there was a family of unicorns living in the forest in the east. Unicorn hair is in great demand in the wizard market, and it is very expensive. Following the currency war in the Muggle world, Ivan once again set his sights on wizards' gold galleons. Ivan had no intention of exchanging gold for galleons. Although with the current amount of pounds he could do this. But Ivan had already seen through what the goblins were like. It is conceivable that if Ivan really dared to trade with the goblins with the gold from the Muggle world, the other party would definitely push the price down to the bottom. 1 ton of gold for 1 galleon may not be impossible. Don't underestimate the greed of goblins. They're the cancer of the wizarding world. Goblins do not produce, and none of the wealth in Gringotts belongs to them. However, goblins control 90% of the wealth in the wizarding world and perfectly grasp all the lifelines. The wizard who handed Gringotts to the goblins should be hanged on a street lamp. This is not the first time that Ivan has complained about the financial problems in the wizarding world. He even has a plan. When I find a time, I will go to Gringotts and turn the galleons in those ownerless vaults into my own things. According to the goblins' concept, the treasures they make belong to the goblins. Yes, wizards take all kinds of materials to goblins to make things, and even pay the making fees. But in the end, the things belong to the goblins. Once the wizards die, the goblins will jump out and say that they are their treasures and were stolen by wizards. In other words, the vaults in Gringotts. As long as the goblins can confirm that the vault has no heirs at all, they can take it into their pockets. Absurd concept, robber's logic. Ivan has hated goblins for a long time. He did not take action immediately because he could not determine which vaults had been embezzled by goblins. Hogwarts prepared a trap-door test on the 4th floor for Hermione, Harry, and others. I also found a good adventure. Ivan wanted to know if he could sneak into Gringotts safely and return with a full load with his current level of magic. Even Quirrell could do it. Ivan smiled. There's no reason why I can't do it, right? Chapter 99, main mission in the blink of an eye. Winter turned to spring, and the time came to the end of April. As the last Quidditch game ended, Harry caught the golden snitch again. After 6 years, Gryffindor won the Quidditch championship again. That night, Professor McGonagall couldn't help crying in his sleep. The older cat girl likes Quidditch the most, but the team is not competitive and has been defeated by the other 3 colleges, missing the championship. Now, Harry has shown his flying talent far beyond others, and even Cedric has been defeated by him. It could be predicted that in the next few years, Quidditch will be dominated by another Potter. But soon, Harry couldn't laugh anymore. Near the end of the semester, the professors assigned a lot of homework like crazy, especially Professor McGonagall. The terrifyingly long transfiguration paper almost exhausted Harry, 890, Neville, and Ronald, the 3 poor students. Please, Hermione. Then, 3 useless men appeared in front of Hermione, begging for her help. Why don't you ask Ivan for help? Of course, it's because Ivan doesn't have to do these things. As early as the beginning of the year, Ivan had already accepted the tests of professors in various subjects and passed the examinations with all O grades. Even Dumbledore announced privately that Ivan didn't have to take the final exam. There's no way. Ivan is like a legend in Hogwarts. He can go to class as he pleases, go out at night as he pleases, read banned books as he pleases, and even homework and exams can be exempted. This is no longer the level of the privileged class. He is simply treating Hogwarts as his own home, unscrupulous and lawless. No, Hermione, I won't let you copy my homework. Don't even think about it. Seeing Hermione's refusal, the useless men can only pin their hopes on Ivan. They hope that Ivan will say a few words and let his family Hermione show mercy. Ahem. Ivan was quite helpless. He coughed lightly and said, Harry has learned spells well. Ronald has made obvious progress recently. Neville. Ronald borrowed money from Harry and bought a new wand. Although his talent can only be said to be average, the mismatch of the wand also hindered his growth. Harry is a very loyal person. When his friend got into trouble, he immediately expressed his willingness to lend him some money in exchange for a new wand. As for Neville, Neville is still the same. His thinking is too low. Even if his magic power and will are enough, it is difficult to complete the casting of spells. In addition, his memory is really not good. Even the daily homework needs Ivan's help to complete. Fortunately, Ivan predicted the future for Neville in advance. According to the results Ivan saw, it will probably take until the 3rd grade for Neville to make up for the lost memory and start to accumulate strength. Okay, Hermione took out the homework. Don't be exactly the same. The professor will see it. I know. Thank you, Hermione. In terms of neatness and seriousness of homework, Hermione is perfect. Anyway, there is absolutely no one among the young wizards of this class who can write homework more beautifully than Hermione. These guys, looking at the 3 people running back to the dormitory excitedly with their homework, Hermione really didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But the little witch didn't say anything. In fact, even if Ivan didn't ask, Hermione would have lent him the homework in the end. The reason why she refused at the beginning was mainly because she hoped that the 3 of them could work harder. When there was really no other way, she would lend the homework. After following Ivan for almost a year, Hermione's temperament has changed a lot, and she is no longer as rigid and boring as at the beginning. Want to go out for a walk? No. Hermione refused Ivan's invitation, which surprised the latter. Because this situation is rare, I still need to review the knowledge points of this school year. Hermione's reason left Ivan speechless. The little witch was very worried about the test results of the 1st grade. She was afraid that she would get an E. The grades of Hogwarts are divided into several different levels, including outstanding, exceeds expectations, acceptable, poor, dreadful, and troll. If she gets an E, exceeds expectations, in any exam, Hermione will probably cry to death. Yes, you heard it right. In the eyes of the little witch, there is no difference between an E and a failure. She doesn't want to disappoint the professor's expectations, and she doesn't want to see those little snakes in Slytherin look down on her. Well then, good luck. Ivan patted the little witch's head, then got up and left. I will go with the professors to conduct a final inspection of the trial under the trapdoor. After the deans of each college and Dumbledore discussed together, everyone decided to treat the trial under the trapdoor as this year's defense against the dark arts exam. Not only first-year students, but also senior students can participate. Of course, the number of levels that need to be passed for different grades is not the same. So the professors made some changes to the content. For example, the level of the troll changed from a single troll to a monster guarding the gate arranged according to grade. Like the troll, it is an existence that students above grade 5 can deal with. Moreover, even for senior wizards, fighting a troll one-on-one is likely to end in defeat. Only those elites who are extremely outstanding and have talents far beyond ordinary wizards have the hope of defeating a troll head-on. For example, Percy and Penelope, who is about to take the final step of a Nimigus transformation after being trained by Ivan. Not to mention Penelope, who has made great progress and greatly increased strength. The reason why Percy was able to pass is that the troll here is not the one Ivan encountered. Voldemort's troll was cast with a violent spell, which greatly increased its combat power and magic resistance. Such a monster, let alone Percy, even if Mr. Weasley came in person, might not be able to seal it. All students will participate at that time. Ivan gave Hermione a look. Do you need me to give you some hints? I don't need to reveal the questions. Hermione hates cheating, and as strict as she is with herself, she is overly obsessed with exams. Well, you are worthy of being our Miss Know-It-All. I hope you can get good grades then. After saying goodbye to Hermione, Ivan found a secluded place. System. Just now, Ivan's system suddenly responded. After opening it, Ivan saw a series of new prompts. Obtain the main task. First year trial. Trial name. Soul Coffin. Chapter 100 Soul Gathering Coffin Dead Souls. Ivan thought the word sounded familiar, as if he had heard it somewhere before. Without thinking too much, Ivan clicked on the detailed description of this task. Dead Souls. Category. Main quest. Introduction. You are about to complete your first year of study at Hogwarts. In order to verify your learning results, a cursed object from another world has landed somewhere in England. Requirement. Please retrieve the Dead Souls casket and break the curse reward. 1 experience point. 1 big magic customization. Main quest. So there's such a thing as a main quest in the system. Ivan was not too nervous when he encountered this situation for the first time, but was quite looking forward to it. He was very confident in his own strength and was not afraid of any trials at all. The most important thing was the reward for the main quest. 1 experience point. Experience points are the attribute points required after an attribute exceeds 5 points. According to the information Ivan knew, 5 points of attribute was the limit that a wizard could achieve. Even if it was a magical transformation, it was impossible to increase a certain attribute to 6 points. 7 is a magical number, especially in the Harry Potter world. It can be predicted that the highest value of the attribute points in the system is 27, which should be 7 points if nothing unexpected happens. Of course, the 7 here is more like a state of mind in Ivan's view, rather than a simple data. Just like 5 points to 6 points, it seems to have only increased by 1 point. However, this point is the essential difference. There is no need to think about where to add this attribute. As a wizard, is there any more important attribute than magic? 5 points of magic can be called a great wizard. So how far should 6 points be? Ivan heard Dumbledore say that his strength at his peak would never be lower than the 4 giants at the time. Although there's also a saying in the HP world that the older the stronger, there are always some extraordinary geniuses in every era. A wizard like Dumbledore, who can lead an era, even if he cannot compare with the 4 giants, has already stood at the same height as them. In terms of Ivan's previous life's cultivation system, it is the same realm, but Dumbledore is in the late stage, while the four giants are at the peak and are moving toward the higher level. The 12 doors of the Department of Mysteries lead to the essence of magic. Old Dumbledore and Grindelwald have traced the footprints of the Grim Reaper, saying that as long as you get 3 Deathly Hallows, you can become the master of the Grim Reaper. Does becoming the master of the Grim Reaper imply the complete integration of the magic of death? The Elder Wand, the Invisibility Cloak, the Resurrection Stone, simply getting these things is useless. There must be a way to activate them. But Ivan is not sure about these. After all, from ancient times to the present, no one has ever held 3 Deathly Hallows at the same time. Now old Dumbledore should have collected 2 Deathly Hallows, but he has not got the Resurrection Stone. The Invisibility Cloak is in the hands of the Potter family, and the Elder Wand was won by Dumbledore from Grindelwald. Ivan can imagine that giving the old headmaster an opportunity may take that crucial step. In the original book, Dumbledore, who was cursed by Voldemort on the ring, eventually died in the hands of Snape. Death is another great adventure. Thinking of the King's Cross station mentioned in the original book after death, Ivan has reason to suspect that Dumbledore really broke through. Is this the power of the system? Ivan thought to himself, old Dumbledore spent his whole life and even died 9 times to reach this realm, and I only need to complete this task and then add the attribute to the magic power. The problem now is that Ivan doesn't know where the soul coffin is. This is very troublesome. The system only gave the task, but how to find it and how to break the curse, all Ivan has to figure out by himself. Breaking the curse is easy. With the dual observation of the magic eye and the spiritual vision, Ivan can reverse it unless it is a curse like Avada Kedavra that has no solution at all. But how can I find it? In the next few days, Ivan first searched for books about the soul coffin in the library, but did not get any useful information. There was no way. Ivan had to ask the professors and Dumbledore for help. However, this time, even the erudite old principal showed confusion. The soul coffin? It sounds like a ghost story from somewhere. Dumbledore said regretfully, "Sorry, little Ivan, I haven't heard of this curse." "Excuse me, Professor." Ivan was completely at a loss after failing to get any clues from old Dumbledore. He had no connections in the wizarding world, and the only magic masters he knew were all professors at Hogwarts. Fortunately, the professors agreed to help Ivan find out some relevant information, although they didn't know what the dead soul chest Ivan was talking about was. But as the favorite student of the deans of Hogwarts, Ivan would not refuse such a simple thing if he needed it. Voila! Just when Ivan was at a loss, a cruise ship was fishing near the coast in a sea far away in the east of England. The people on the boat were not fishermen, but some rich people fishing at sea. This amount must be a big catch. The captain commanded the crew to raise the big net, and the passengers on the same ship came forward one after another, wanting to see the harvest this time. Bang! However, accompanied by the sound of a heavy object falling to the ground, the passengers showed a look of surprise. On the deck, a stone coffin about half a person's length appeared among all kinds of seafood. The weird atmosphere made the audience around solemn. For some reason, a cold wind blew through everyone's heart, making many people shiver. What is this? A box made of stone. Although the stone coffin looks like a coffin, its size is obviously not enough to accommodate a living person. At most, only a child can enter. It should be an antique. It is difficult to say who the sarcophagus belongs to. It was the ship that lifted it, but it was the rich merchant family who paid for the sea fishing. It stands to reason that the two sides must have quarreled at this time, but the reality is not the case. The scene was very quiet for a while. Neither the captain nor the rich merchant family was willing to take over the strange sarcophagus. The subconscious told them that the sarcophagus was extremely ominous and must not be touched. How about donating it to the museum? The rich merchant and the captain are both rich people. They don't care much about the value of the antique. After some discussion, the two sides reached a tacit agreement and decided to donate the sarcophagus salvaged from the sea to the British Museum.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.